All right, folks, we are live. You have all asked me to talk about one thing in the Star Wars universe, and that is the expanded universe. Well, maybe I haven't read enough books to talk about it, but I got a group of guys tonight who have read tons and tons of books and have tons of experience in the Star Wars expanded universe. So tonight, we're going to have a discussion about that, the future of Star Wars, the past of Star Wars, everything. It's going to be about Star Wars tonight. So I am joined by our friend Dan. Say hello, Dan.
Hey, how are you folks?
I'm joined by Jeff the Iron Wolf.
What's up, everybody?
Up next is our friend Harry.
Yo, everyone.
With us also is John.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And finally, our friend and hero of the channel for Saturday, Army Vet Rod. I still want to tell you thanks, man. That live stream with our fan films was incredible.
Can't wait to do it again, and thank everybody for tuning in.
Obi-Wan, did I forget to send you an invite? Shoot me a quick message on Patreon, and I will send you the link, because I think I did tell you about this, and I forgot. I'm sorry. So, wow, man, people really are into this one quick. We're almost at 200 viewers already.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's actually a good sign.
Yeah.
People are passionate about the EU.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my experience with the EU as a kid, I used to ride up to the library because they had free air conditioning and free internet, and I would just read Star Wars books without even taking them out. And I think I read The Courtship of Princess Leia like that. That was my first experience with the EU. So, Dan, you know what? Actually, let's go back. Dan, starting with you, how did you get introduced to Star Wars?
I was actually, the very first time I experienced Star Wars was, I was probably about 10. I got the Super Nintendo, and one of the very first games I got was the Super Return of the Jedi, and it was amazing. I don't know what it was about that game, but I was just hooked after that. My parents took me to the movies when the prequels was coming out. They had the OT in the movie theater for like a week or two at a time, and I was just blown away by that stuff. And I've been hooked ever since.
I had that game as well. That was the first Star Wars game I ever bought. It was awesome, but it was hard.
Dude, yeah, it was so difficult too.
The battle to escape the Death Star was the hardest part for me. When you had to fly out of the Death Star and you'd hit the roof or something and blow up.
Yeah, that's the very last level. And that was like, out of the three, I think Return of the Jedi was the only one that I could beat. Because of the last level, there's something tricky. I don't know. You almost have to have like a cheat code to get through the end, because you got to make that that torpedo shot at the end of the New Hope, and it's what, 1 out of a million chance. So
Cool.
Jeff the Iron Wolf, could you tell us about your first experience with Star Wars?
Oh, wow. Well, I was born a year before Return of the Jedi came out, but my first experience, my dad had all three of the original movies on VHS. So from a very young age, all that fun stuff. So my first time I remember, I think I was 5 years old, and I watched the original Star Wars, and from there I was hooked.
What about you, Harry?
For me, this is going to be interesting. I started watching it, I want to say, probably I was about 2 or 3 years old when I first started watching Star Wars. And that was the original New Hope movie without the subtitle A New Hope. So the original Star Wars is what I watched. And I didn't own it on VHS, but instead, my mom and dad, I think they had like a next door neighbor in my neighborhood that actually recorded the movie for us from like a rental or something. And he put it over on like a blank VHS tape for us. And I saw that movie and I was completely blown away by it. And my mind was forever changed after that. And I will say that my most favorite character at that time, when I was about 2 or 3, was R2-D2. He was like the character for me at that time. And I was blown away by the ships, the environments, everything. Everything about it was perfect.
Where does R2-D2 rank for you today, currently?
I would say right now, he's still one of my top favorite characters, but he's, I would say, like, if I was to put him in a like, say, 5 best characters, I'd probably say he's around like 4, probably.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see, who do we have next? We have John. Tell us about your first experience with Star Wars. How'd you get introduced?
Yeah, for sure. I got like 3 older siblings, and they're all significantly older than I am. So I was born into a Star Wars household. They all saw the original movies. Some of them, all of them. Some of them, just a few of them in the theaters, and kind of just like brought me up, telling me that I needed to like, grow up to be a Jedi and like all that other kind of stuff. And they'd like try to motivate me, be like, use the Force, like all that kind of stuff, and like. Played a lot of like Star Wars card games and stuff like that in the 90s. And, it was I was homeschooled and grew up pretty religious, conservative kind of. And so it was a good way to make friends, just like a shared passion for common mythology. So
at least you had friends that liked Star Wars. Everyone made fun of me for liking that in the mid to late 90s. People like, Star Wars is for nerds. And then they would mistake it for Star Trek, which is unforgivable in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of miss when Star Wars was for nerds, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Rod, tell us about your first experience with Star Wars.
Well, I was born with A New Hope in '77, so it's been with me my whole life. I would have the toys, and I just grew up with it. It was just a part of life. And another thing was that I would get the toys, and my cousin had the toys, but his parents would make him like keep them, a few of them sealed, and not, it would be like they would collect them too, his parents. I would destroy them. I was that neighbor from Toy Story 1 who would just blow them up, freeze them, burn them, so I don't have any of them left, but I did play with them so much that they just stayed with me. And my experience with the EU comes mostly from the games, Knights of the Old Republic, Force Unleashed. I didn't get so much into the earlier games, but that kind of lore, the Old Republic and that kind of thing. Also, Empire at War. I kind of like real-time strategy games like StarCraft and that kind of game. And that's an extremely good game that I wish they would redo. Or there's a lot of mods, but there's a little bit of story in there from Thrawn and all that, and a lot of EU from the Old Republic era that always piques my interest. Darth Revan is one of my favorite characters, as a matter of fact.
All right, cool. Everyone is back. We had 2 more people that are able to join us real quick. Let's say hello to Adam. Adam, how you doing tonight? All right, he's alive. He's in the chat. And then we're also joined by our friend Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, can you hear us?
I can. I'm in the car, so I'll be muting when I'm not talking. So.
Oh, that's fine. Welcome to the show.
I'm a little slow. That's why.
Well, real quick, tell the listeners out there your first experience with Star Wars as a whole before we start talking about the EU.
Oh, my first experience was with Star Wars was probably like 2 or 3, like the other guy. Watching the movies on. I'm pretty sure we didn't have the OG VHSs. I'm pretty sure that there were some like from TV recorded versions or something like that we had. But I do remember getting the special editions at a young age. So.
Oh, okay. Adam, are you here yet?
I'm back. I don't know if I cut out or not, but sorry about that.
You're completely fine.
All right, good deal.
Okay, well, let's get started real quick. We had a few people send in super chats. I wanted to say a couple things. Ragnarok Ulferbert said, "Nerds!" LOLZ.
They are, indeed.
Or the fandom menace. Ty TV said, "Star Wars Expanded Universe is Attitude Era WWE. Disney Star Wars is WWE today." I agree with that.
Hell yeah.
100%.
That's totally true.
Unwatchable is the word I would use to describe both things. Manga Ventura had a very generous super chat. "Hey squad, just listened to the latest High Council stream today at work, and I gotta say that you guys were amazing. Everyone on the council was on point."
Actually.
I did. It was good.
Same.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous how you roasted them.
I thought you guys were pretty civil for the nature of the discussion.
Yeah, I think Matt took it like a champ.
I thought Matt did take it like a
took a lot of
champ,
guts for him to go in there.
but I didn't think that he didn't necessarily deserve a little bit of the you know.
I wanted to talk about his support of James Gunn. I didn't care about the other stuff. I don't care about Bloodsports. Bloodsports is e-drama, and I'm not into e-drama. But I did want to discuss the James Gunn thing, and I you know, he kind of like tried to you know, get out before that subject got touched because he was not going to win on that subject.
Yeah. I think mostly that I just don't think that I think as EBS said that, you know, we just, you know, there's no need to just, you know, make your hits off of like starting to shit with other people. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he took down his videos, and it's all in the past. The only record of it will be the High Council. There's no bad blood from world-class bullshitters.
Yeah, it was classy. It was classy.
Yeah, but I think like these people, they know that their fans are gonna do what they're gonna do, and if they send super chats and kind of troll him a little bit, he can't be mad at the super chat. He can't be mad at the fans because you cannot control the fans. That's what we're trying to show here. You can't control fans, Disney. You can't control fans. Anyone. The fans are gonna do whatever they want.
Very true, 100%, man.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see, Mongo also said, like the movie Braveheart, you fought like warrior poets. Well, thank you, Mongo.
Jeff.
That is awesome.
Jeff.
Adam.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just checking.
All right, now you're here, my friend. Tell the listeners your first experience of Star Wars.
I was in diapers.
I
was born in '78, and I saw the first Hope, I think, in '81, and then Return of the Empire Strikes Back like shortly after that, and then my brother was born. So, yeah, we're all like, you know, Star Wars people since birth.
It took me a little while to find Star Wars because I was born in '88 and people weren't really talking about it as much. I caught it right before the One Last Time Faces VHS box set came out. Then I got into the toys, which got me into the movies, which got me here to this channel right now. So thanks, George Lucas. I salute you.
The 1995 Star Wars VHS collection was probably the best one, hands down.
I think that's one my dad had.
John, was it you that sent me the specialized editions?
Oh, those things are great.
Yeah.
Those are fantastic. I watched those religiously.
Yeah,
God bless Harmy. Wherever you are, Harmy, God bless you.
I was like pretty tight on money a couple years ago, and so I made PVC lightsaber hilts that would like lightsabers you could set into them for all my siblings and their kids, and the activation switch was a USB drive with the Harmy on it.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, but I just wanted to tell you thanks, because what I'm actually going to do for me is I think I'm going to edit my own cut of Star Wars for the hell of it, and just play around with editing, because there's a few Harmy things that he like. I like some special edition changes. I like a lot of the
some of the
original
special edition changes are like pretty dope, but and some of them are just a little cluttered, you know. And I thought that it was totally fair that someone wanted to go back and just try to do like, you know, George Lucas said that like he used to be super about like the preservation of classic film, but now he won't give a print to, you know, the archive,
the National Archive.
So I think Harmy, that's 100 different people's efforts going together over time to make that happen, whether they like dug up an old print or they remastered it or any of that kind of stuff, color correction. It's a combination of a bunch of different fans' takes on essentially what would be an upscaled HD recolorized. Because if you look at like the Blu-rays from the 2000 release, the 2000s release or whatever, everything's purpler. All the laser blasts that used to be red are now like magenta, and like there is just someone basically just went super hard on the color correction, which is easy to do when you're like playing around in Photoshop, you know, and it looks good after staring at it for like 100 hours, but it doesn't look like the original at all. Like all the like true skin tones are gone, and a lot of the like blacks have been crushed down.
Well, that's what we were getting into last Saturday. It's a labor of love, and the labor of love that should be that wasn't Lucas and should be in the Lucasfilms, it's just not there.
Well, it wasn't just George Lucas, though. I mean, the original Star Wars, it was saved not by George Lucas, but by his wife, who edited it.
The edit, if you watch if there's actually someone, I don't remember whose channel does it, but they do like a thing about it, and like there used to be 2 trench runs where Luke misses the first time, and just like all kinds of crazy bananas like differences in the movie that she just like really tightened up. And then they divorced, and it's never been the same.
Well, I think they should do the Blade Runner approach and give us 4 or 5 different cuts of Star Wars
different
on
cuts. That's a great idea.
That would be perfect. Why wouldn't they do it? You know,
I mean, 6 versions of a lot of the first New Hope.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah, like,
what I'd like
George Lucas.
Well, what I would like too is if they were to have them all be the exact same like quality and color correction. So if you want to get and rip it from a Blu-ray and cut your own version together, you're going to have the same audio tracks, the same picture quality. There's going to be no jarring differences. Essentially, it gives you carte blanche to make your own cut of Star Wars and not profit from it. And I think that would be the best way to appease everybody, and you have no one pissed off anymore.
I think they should do it like 9 Inch Nails remixes. Remember ninremixes.com, where you just put like all of the tracks for all of his songs up, and you could remix them however you wanted for free.
Yeah, so that could embarrass them. It could make them look bad. It's like, oh my God, anybody on the street could do a better cut than you. What's wrong with you? Why do we pay you?
Yeah, well, maybe that should be like a pre-production element, is like putting it up for like a bunch of people that work on cutting.
Maybe, do you think now that Disney is buying Fox, do you think that there's a chance that they're gonna put out the original Star Wars?
They probably will.
And do you think it'll save face?
I doubt it.
It's going to be
well,
used
they
to
went for
distract
Clone
people.
Wars, and that's the first thing they shot in the foot. I mean, Kathleen went in the door and said, F Filoni, F Clone Wars, stop it mid-season, F the EU. That's the first thing she did. She killed Clone Wars. She kicked in the door and said, F Filoni, F the Clone Wars mid-season. That's what she did. So her bringing it back gives me no good feelings. I think she's going to mix it into her weird new stuff. And
it's a desperation move. Bringing back Clone Wars is a desperation move.
I'm not even convinced that bringing back the Clone Wars was her decision.
Yeah, you might have something there, but I do think that they might try to tie it, like throw some threads to Rebels, throw some threads to Rey, to all this stuff, this in between world, this time travel place that's made in Rebels. If you guys have seen Rebels, you know they made 2 things that they'd made time travel in Rebels, and they had like biological hyperspace, like they had hyperspace whales that fly. And
the Yawna's Dawn has hyperspace capability, and all their ships are organic.
Actually,
of course, they came from
in defense of hyperspace whales, having not seen that Rebels, I haven't seen past the Obi-Wan and Darth Maul.
That was a good fight, though.
Yeah,
I think they forced that on him.
In defense of space whales, though, there's an EU element from the old West End 6-sided die Star Wars role-playing game. They're called Dunawagan or something, and they're space dragons. They're like Felkor, who can like seal himself off from the vacuum of space, essentially, and they can use the Force. So, as much as that's a wild element to cherry pick, like. That's the other thing that kind of annoys me about them throwing away the EU is when I feel like I see them cherry picking from that.
Yes.
Like when they cherry pick Thrawn. I mean, granted, I was thrilled Thrawn came to the big screen. The small screen even, but still, it's like they're cherry picking.
Yeah, but I still would like to see him in a movie.
Or better yet, when they cherry pick the TIE Defenders, but they completely changed what the TIE Defender was. They turned it into gigantic, huge fighter that can't turn for crap, that can take a beating. It's like, that's not the TIE Defender. I played the TIE Fighter game. I love that game. The TIE Defender was this fast, maneuverable, could shoot down anything you could throw at it.
Well, if you throw those bombers from the Last Jedi at it, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think I could shoot that down in a headhunter with an engine out. You know what I mean? Like,
that was the worst ship design they could have ever picked for whatever that was.
Okay, guys.
Hold on. Those bombers from Last Jedi were going as fast enough for Miss Daisy to handle, not us.
Driving Miss Daisy in a bomber.
Yeah,
guys.
I get that dreadnought soon.
Well, guys. I understand what Rian Johnson was trying to go for. He was trying to go for a 12 o'clock high feel, but the problem is 12 o'clock high has no business being in Star Wars. It's built off fighters. It should have been a
It has.
scene
I mean,
from mid.
it has gravity in 12 O'clock High. You know what I mean?
Ryan Johnson
there's
has no
no
business
gravity in
writing.
space.
He's not a writer. He has no business writing, and you can see it because most of that script is plagiarism from the end hologram that he stole from Escape from LA. To,
Oh yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if
to
you're
the mirror
gonna
scene that he stole
plagiarize
from a
something,
music video. He
I don't know why
stole
they
that
let
movie.
him. I don't know why they let him write that. I heard he was a boat maker.
Well,
Did you guys like that story last night?
Yes, that
Dude,
was
that-
fantastic.
That story was so
amazing. Dude, it was great.
By the way, I've been in contact with that guy, Subversive Jake. He's given us the go-ahead. We're going to make an actual Ryan the Boatmaker video here on World Class Bullshitters with sound effects, narration, different voices.
We
all
do it
that
like a
stuff.
motion comic, like the Watchmen.
I'm not gonna do all the voices like the Watchmen comic. I'm not gonna impersonate women's.
Hey Jack.
No. Get us like group it out. Like, you know what I mean?
No. I already spoke to people. We got Cecil involved.
Oh,
We're gonna
cool,
get
cool.
Ortega, everybody. But in the Watchmen graphic novel or the Watchmen motion comic, that dude did all the voices for the.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Hey,
I thought about iTunes. Yes,
Jeff,
yes, other Jeff.
I just realized I had gotten in the deep end there. My comic knowledge is wingies, water wingies.
Well, that's why we back each other up. You know, some of us come from games, some of us come from books, some of us come from comics. I'm coming from the games, but this is how, you know, different perspectives give a better view, which is something
absolutely.
they don't understand.
Well, guys, I just saw Super Checks. I have this going, and someone asked, "What's our favorite moment from the EU?"
Oh, that comes from Logan Michael. Don't worry, folks.
Yeah.
We're going to answer that one, and then I'm going to go back to Raven Eye reviews. So, we'll start with you, Adam. You go first. What's your favorite moment from the EU?
There's two. Can I have two?
Sure, of course, man.
All right. The first one is oh shit. I don't know think. When the Republic first goes up against the Yugoslav, and they find out that the force powers don't really work against them, and they kind of have this whole oh shit moment, like, oh, we can't do this. And the second one is from Star Wars Legacy, when, of course, that's a long arc, but one of those is Cade Skywalker has the ability to heal people or bring people from the brinks to death, and he brings his two friends back, and while he's doing it, everyone else around him is just freaking the fuck out because these two people got infected by some kind of Yugoslav virus thing. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it, but yeah.
What about you, Dan?
Oh shit. Yeah. I actually need to come back to it because I like there's so much going through my head.
No problem. We'll go to Jeff. Jeff?
All right, thanks, bud.
It would have to be for me. There's also two. The first one would probably be the first time Race Squadron goes up against the Empire, and I think it was Kel Tainer and his wingman impersonated Leia Organa and Han Solo in the Millennium Falcon with a pair of A-wings helping them. And then as they're flying off, they say, "All this brought to you by the compliments of Dinner Squadron and Silly Squadron." And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great book. Basically, Race Squadron is literally Black Sheep Squadron meets Commando. It's a great book. You have to read it. My other one was probably the Darth Bane trilogy, when Darth Bane convinces the Brotherhood of Darkness to do the thought bomb, and he wipes out everybody on
Yeah,
Rathon.
that's pretty good.
That was a great scene.
Dan, are
about
you
you,
trying to
Harry?
find something? Sounds like you're rummaging.
What about you, Harry? What's your favorite moment?
I have a few, but I think probably the most badass one in the EU is there's a Boba Fett comic that Cam Kennedy wrote and illustrated, or not, he didn't write it, but he illustrated it. There is a part in, I think, the graphic novel for Death, Lies, and Treachery. There is a character named Barracuda. He's like a pirate alien that like has a whole bunch of pirates on his ship, and they're just like scallywag type guys. Well, he gets killed by Boba Fett, and there was a hut that was trying to get Barracuda as bounty, to show his future
Sure.
father-in-law Hut, you know, because he wants to marry a woman Hut or something. Like, hey, I'm gonna give you like a present or something, you know, just to show my goodwill. Like, I'm a good guy. I'm a good Hut. I'll treat your daughter well. He gets Barracuda cooked as like a meal for them to eat. And he's like, should I just call you Dad at the end of it? And I was like, oh, that was awesome.
I always wonder about that. How do huts mate? You know,
I don't know. That's a good question.
that's
Like snakes, I guess.
I would have to say
probably.
so.
But they do have a child in that comic, which is interesting.
Oh, there's that.
There's that baby Hut in the Clone Wars movie as well, right?
It's a
Yeah,
little weird, but
but there's also a little kid in Phantom Menace. Well, during the beginning of the pod race,
Yeah,
there's
right
Jabba
next
the
to
Hutt
the
and there's a
mother.
little one.
there was
I didn't
also a
notice
Hut
that.
Jedi. You guys might not know this, but there's a Hut Jedi in the Star Wars past.
Yeah,
I've heard of him.
I did not even know that.
It's a chick, isn't it?
No. It's a
Well,
dude.
they're hermaphroditic, I think, is what it says on
No,
Wikipedia.
you're right. You're right. They are.
I did not know Huts were hermaphroditic. That's interesting.
Yeah.
see,
I
that opens
heard
up even
you-
more questions.
Yeah.
Definitely like to diddle the slaves, though.
It does make you curious as to like why they choose to present the way that they do.
Yeah, now, speaking of presenting, John, what's your favorite moment from the EU?
It's from this. It's from this moment in. Well, okay. So Chewbacca's death is pretty dope. But
I will forgive Ari Salvatore for that.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, but he went out. But he went out like a champ.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
he
he
did.
did.
He did go out like a champ, like roaring at a moon that was going to come and hit him. But the
Yeah.
the bottom line is I think the one that's more obscure that I really like is Ganner Rossode's last stand.
Oh, that was a great scene.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
basically in a nutshell, like these invaders have come and taken over Coruscant with this like kind of organic technology that feeds off of the planet and kind of like terraforms it into like a coral city structure after like destroying everything else. And it's fed by this thing called the world brain. And so Solo's in like trying to destroy the world brain, and to buy him time, this kind of half-assed Jedi who's never really had kind of felt actualized in like his purpose, decides that he is going to go and stand against this invading force of Yuuzhan Vong at the mouth of the entrance to the old Senate building, which is where the world brain is. And he essentially just realizes, he has this like moment of nirvana where he realizes that his entire purpose, like the force, like brought him into existence for that moment. And like the quote is, the Vong says, "There are thousands of warriors out here and you're only one man." And he says, "I am only one Jedi." "You are insane." "No, I am Ganner, and this threshold is mine. I claim it for my own. Bring your thousands, one at a time, or all in a rush. I don't give a damn. None shall pass."
And
then
no
they
one
say,
does.
and they say he just stacks them up before they come out and find him like on top of a pile of dead fucking Vong.
And Yuuzhan Vong actually have a legend about him called the Ganner.
Yeah, well,
Oh.
because they worship death and pain and everything, so they think that he was actually like the angel of death almost in that moment. Like,
Well, now they might make Yuuzhan Vong the pilots from Prometheus and their xenomorph like their dogs or something. Mix it all up just because they have it.
man, I really hope they don't. I hope they don't do the Vong at all. The Vong was questionable in the
I
first
understand. I agree.
Obi-Wan, are you there, man? What's your favorite moment in the EU? All right, Rod, we'll go to you.
Well, my favorite.
Sorry,
EU
I'm in a
moment-
store. I'll be back.
place. Help us, Obi-Wan.
Back to me.
Understand. My favorite moment in the EU comes from the games. Like I said before, I'm a big KOTOR 1 and 2 fan. I also like a little bit of the Infinite Empires saga, where it goes into a little bit of the past of what happened with this dark Sith that went beyond what the Sith are supposed to be and just wanted ultimate eternal life. And I like that whole arc with Darth Revan. I like the whole concept of Traya and how she sees the flaws in the Jedi and the flaws in the Sith. That your desire for power overcomes the goal you had for which you wanted that power, which is what happens to Vader. And the Jedi, that they're so focused on control that they lose their humanity, like having clone slave soldiers, basically, and defending a trade, currency exchange rate, tax routes. I mean, that's not what the Jedi was about. They were successful for 1,000 years while they protected the galaxy from slavery. And the Sith only had 30 years of power because their quest for power ultimately self-destroys. They lose sight of their goal and they lose sight of everything. But I like that whole concept.
Hey, Adam, have you figured out which one's your favorite yet?
I think it was me.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Dan.
No problem. Yeah, actually, I did. It took me a minute to think back because it's been a number of years since I read some of these books. But in the Thrawn trilogy, there was it was almost like a pyramid or something, some sort of like megalithic structure on this island, where there was also a dark Jedi, and Thrawn had commissioned this dark Jedi named Jorath to come work for him. But in this big structure is where all the Emperor's artifacts were. And one of the artifacts in there was Luke's hand. And what they did with the hand...
mountain. That was the mountain.
Oh, okay. Was it the mountain?
Yeah, that was the mountain.
I couldn't remember. It's been a number of years. But and then they cloned Luke. And then there was that face-off of Luke, and there was also Luke's blue lightsaber. So there was a face-off at the very end between Luke Skywalker with his green lightsaber versus a clone with his blue lightsaber. The dark Jedi, and I believe Jade, which was his wife then.
No, she wasn't married to him yet, but
yeah, they had met. They were.
Yeah, Luke ends up giving Mara Jade his old lightsaber. She creates her own. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean that whole trilogy is amazing. I mean, like, just the originality of it. They did such an amazing job, like capturing the characters' essences of Luke and Han and Leia and even the droids. You know, and Lando was in it the entire series, not tacked on at the very fucking end. You know.
Well, real quick, let me roll through these super chats for everyone that has been patient, and then I'll start. I have a list of questions I'm going to ask you guys. So Raven Eye Review says, have you seen the Ultimate Star Wars Visual Guide by Ryder Wyndham? It comes in handy for EU chat. Also, thanks for the reply on Facebook. Guys, have you ever read or do you own the Star Wars Ultimate Visual Guide by Ryder Wyndham?
Nope. I didn't even know it was out.
Nah, don't have it.
Let me double check. Hold on.
I have the episode 1 visual guide that I got from the dollar store like a couple years ago.
The dollar store.
Yeah, they had it. What else did they have? Nothing really, like a notebook or some crap like that.
Well, the thing is, I think I may have had it at one point, but at one point I went homeless, so I lost a lot of my Star Wars stuff, so I don't have it anymore if I did.
Well, are things better now?
Better, yeah, way better. I now have a job.
Good.
I think that's one of those books that maybe my brother-in-law had, and I think I might have thumbed through it there.
Oh, okay.
Or also, you said that thing about the bookstore. Or the library. I definitely did that with the library and the bookstore, where I would just go and read the books.
I remember going to the library to print out pictures of episode 1 for some reason. I was that excited.
Yeah. I remember bringing floppy disks to the library to download cheats or like hacks for a Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 on floppy disk because I didn't have the internet.
Most of the stuff in the guides, I got it from Wikipedia. I would just spend endless hours and hours and hours just in there going through the lore and looking for old game stuff that related to and looking for comics.
Wikipedia is the best place to go.
Wookiee's great. Before Wookiee, like the best stuff was like the Essentials series. If you guys remember,
I had
Essential Guide to Characters, Vehicles.
That's the book that I was referencing earlier before the chat started. I have that Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels. It's one of the best books ever. I love it.
Yep,
I remember those. Let's see. The DJD show says, "Do you like international graphic minimal artists?"
Never heard of them.
I
I've
don't.
never heard of him either.
I don't really like a lot of minimalist art in terms. If you're talking about comics and stuff, I usually like detailed stuff. But simplicity with realistic figures, I do enjoy. So,
Well,
it
it
doesn't
depends
have to
on
be
like,
over.
what kind of story you're telling in a comic. If it's like a noir type deal, yeah. I mean, minimalist on that is
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was just about to say. Noir is like
it basically just hands itself to it. Like, here's a noir story, minimalist art, perfect.
Well, I'm a super fan of just clean lines and stuff like that. I hate sketchy, disproportionate work. I don't know. That's just my weird pick. But I like the cleanliness of a line.
I can appreciate that too.
Did the cartoon home movies drive you crazy, or home videos, or whatever that
I
was?
remember home movies. I never watched that. I
The
used to watch
line,
the-
the
I used to watch
lines like
Dr. Katz, though.
vibrate because there's like so few frames per second, or whatever, you know.
Well, when I look at something like that, that's a low budget show on Adult Swim. I don't really get
Sure.
it. Like,
Fair
it's
enough.
Billy,
What is
all
it,
that
like
shit.
19 frames per second on that one? On that? 19,
It's
20?
something.
Well, Jeff,
It's not that very many.
Well, Jeff, like you said, you like clean lines. That's why my favorite ship in Star Wars is the YT-2400 Outrider. You can't get much more clean lines than that.
I just want
That's
to plug
Dash Window's
our.
shit, right?
I just want to plug our show on Saturday again, because we saw a very good anime with very good lines. It was beautifully drawn, and I think something like that could be done and would be magnificent.
Was it TIE Fighter?
Yes.
TIE Fighter.
That was
Yeah.
a great one.
TIE
was
Fighter.
cool.
TIE Fighter. I would watch an entire, like, I would watch 9 seasons of that, dude. Like,
Yes, I would too.
Happily.
and I would
I've watched
happily
it for
buy
10
it.
years.
Yeah. Like, you don't even have to have, like, screw dialogue. If you can't write it, just like make it look really dope visually, like coming into the cockpits on the TIE Fighter and everything, and like
No,
just-
but like, let's take that Timothy Zahn trilogy and do it in, if you can't afford to do it in special effects, do
Yeah.
it in that style of
I-
animation.
I
Oh my
personally
God.
I personally think that about like every good fantasy or sci-fi that I read. I'm just like, dude, if you don't have the budget, just do it as like a kind of grungy anime. Like,
Well, guys, here's the great thing about anime or CGI, because you can do a hell of a lot more with that than you can do with live action at times. Just look at the Starship Troopers 2 movies that have come out in the last 5 years. They finally got the power armor right.
Finally.
Okay.
They
I'll
actually
have to
have
check it
to-
out.
I actually met with Timothy Zahn, and I was trying to get the his trilogy plus the duology and Survivor's Quest turned into like a sequel, like not quality, not necessarily content as far as nudity and everything.
I think
Oh,
I
yeah.
lost you there for a second.
He was
Going in
cutting
and
it
out on
out.
us.
Ty TV says Jaina Solo and Mara Jade are strong female characters, but still aren't good enough for SJW Star Wars. Thrawn and
Pisses
the
me
Yuzhan
off.
Vong are also better villains.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's the thing too. Is like they didn't need to create a whole new batch of characters. They could have just picked a couple new ones and used them. And
They could have had the
that would have
Imperial
been
Remnant
more-
with Thrawn and Pelion and been fine for the movies. They did not have to create the First Order.
I always suspect that when they create new characters, because they have control or whatever, they're just trying to get that IP creation little bit of cash, that royalties thing. Because if I
Yeah.
go with Timothy Zahn's book, I don't get a little bit of that royalties from creating the First Order. I don't get royalties from creating Rose Tico. I don't get royalties from creating any of the new stuff. So they don't want to go into anything that has already been created.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of think that is related. Like, it would be a royalties nightmare for like figuring
it's a
out.
selfish. It's a very selfish thing to
They
create all
shouldn't
this.
get shit. They shouldn't
I
get
agree.
shit for the First Order.
Well, now
The First Order was
now
such a
they'll
blatant
just
ripoff.
cherry pick all the ideas and not have to pay royalties because they
Yeah,
don't
guys.
acknowledge that it's canon. You know.
But guys,
True.
here's a little bit off the wall, but here's my idea for a story group. Timothy Zahn, Karen Travis, Drew Kapishian, who wrote the Bane trilogy, Michael A. Stockpole. There's your story group for Star Wars. And God, what they could have created.
That would take all relevance.
or like even just use them as like a lore specialist or consultant, just anything, you know. having
They're
that
afraid of the
in
power that
mix.
these people have within the community. They're afraid of sticking Timothy Zahn in there and then saying, well, why do we have Kathy? Timothy Zahn is right there.
Yeah,
Why
no
wouldn't we have these people? Why do we have these people? And I'm guessing they would be a little bit more expensive than the out of nowhere 2 episodes on a series somewhere story group that they have. I mean, the
God.
people that they have probably work for Peanuts and Craig. I mean, just for the cred. That's what they're working for, Peanuts and cred. And if you get a Timothy Zahn, if you get one of these, these people that have a little bit of respect in the community, you have to pay them a little respect, and they don't want to pay for anything. They want to create new things that in their mind is magnificent and get the royalties from it.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like, don't you think that like a prerequisite when looking for like JJ or like, I mean, I guess I heard George Lucas pick JJ, but I heard he was on a short list. So the point is that don't you think that once they threw out the EU, like they were like, hey, do you guys like the EU? And they're like, oh, I never read that shit. That's for nerds. And then they were like, oh, you're hired, like.
Nope.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, I think they wanted people who were as far away from the EU as possible.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like
then I agree completely. Then you're right.
They threw out the EU, and then we're like, well, why didn't they pick people that would understand it? And they're like, well, no, they don't want anyone whose loyalties lie with the old canon.
Precisely.
Well, it's almost like what Doomcock said about Star Trek Discovery. All the writers on there are from everything but science fiction, let alone anything that has to do with Star Trek. Same thing we got here with Star Wars.
Yeah,
well,
Adam, people that have no idea what the fuck to do.
Doomcock is a great analyst.
Well, actually, Adam, a lot of the writers for Star Trek Discovery are actually brought in from J.J. Verse, who, like you said, had no idea of anything for Star Trek. They'd never written it before for those movies.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, honestly, I thought the new Star Trek Discovery was not too bad. I watched all of it, and I didn't mind it.
Sonar in space.
And your band.
But that said, like, I mean, I think that it's great that we have differing opinions.
But how into the old Star Trek were you?
Let's see. I've seen Next Generation, DS9, Voyager. I thought Enterprise was a joke, and I never watched too much of the like the original trilogy, like the original series, with like Kirk and all that. I just I grew up on special effects that were better than that, and just like never got into it when I was a kid. But always really loved Picard and
yeah, that's my guy. I love that guy.
But Burnham shits on Picard.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of things about Discovery that I feel like kind of like ruffle the canon, because that's a really powerful ship to have like 100 years before Kirk. But like, I thought that their creative take on the Klingon Empire, where they were like a more like tribal, almost like Native Americans in space. Like, I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, I thought that was like an interesting take on what the Klingons were like before their encounter with the Federation, So I thought there were interesting ideas. Do I think that it was like as good as like the Next Generation or anything like that? No, absolutely not. But like, I guess what I mean is that like it was not their like The Last Jedi. Like, it was.
No, I hated their design.
Like, if you want to talk about like terrible Star Trek series, like look at Enterprise. It starts with a dude on a guitar. It's the only series that doesn't start with trumpets and like French horns and stuff. It's like a dude like, it's been a long road.
I'm all about the story, but
that's off the topic. We're talking about Star Wars EU.
Oh yeah.
Well, if we're talking about JJ, I can understand why they wanted him, because he basically turned Star Trek into Star Wars. They had like a big Death Star, and they were trying to, take out the Death Star. That's basically what they did.
Well, let's look at how many big, scary ships that were in the new take from the JJ's version of Star Trek. You got that big giant, I don't know, the Nightmare ship that's supposed to be some kind of mining ship.
Yep.
I've never seen a mining ship that looks like something, out of a fucking Tim Burton's Nightmare.
It was like a Yuzong Vaughn mining ship.
Yeah. Or if anyone has ever seen Babylon 5, it looks like a shadow ship.
Yeah, it does, except just painted green.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Snoke's Dreadnought is totally supposed to be like the Emperor's Dreadnought from the Dark Empire series. Like,
oh, you're talking about the Eclipse?
Eclipse Star Destroyer.
To me, it looks like a B-2 bomber. I mean,
A gigantic one.
Yeah.
But you know
really
what?
big B-2 bomber. I'm like, what? This is
Well,
okay. I
but
guess.
you know,
Like,
what drives me nuts about the supremacy is when the radish rams into it, you get that big white plume, and it's supposed to be a representation of white supremacy. I face palm so hard.
I just thought that was all the
Face palm for
stormtrooper armor melting. I thought that was all the stormtrooper armor melting.
Well, to me, I'm gonna tell you something. Hyperspace is supposed to be like a form of subspace. You're supposed to move, like you have no density.
I mean, clearly, hyperspace doesn't work in the sequel trilogy as it does in all 6 of the other movies. So I don't think there's any reason to debate why they fucked it up in the movie.
That's all they did.
In the end of the Force Awakens, they made a hyper jump from one place to another place in the time that it took for them to push the lever up and pull the lever back.
Like that makes no sense, you know?
No.
Yep.
No.
I mean, yeah. Well, it's the same thing with JJ. Again, going off topic, in Star Trek, it's jumping from warp, but you still have travel time. And one other thing is, you can't in Star Wars you can't track a ship as soon as it jumps into hyperspace unless you have the same hyperdrive, a pulse beacon, and the destination along the line of the hyperspace lanes.
Or if you have what is it?
A tracker.
Yeah, if you have a tracker.
But here's the thing about hyperspace. Hyperspace, when you jump to hyperspace, you're jumping to another dimension. You're not moving faster than light. You're literally in another dimension when you make the jump to hyperspace.
Oh well, that's
why,
it's like subspace.
Maybe that's why
when
Jake Skywalker.
Yeah, and that's why when the radish rammed it, it was too far away to pull that stuff because it had already been in hyperspace because everybody knows about gravity well generators, right? It's not the mass that kills you, it's gravity that kills you. Gravity
it pulls you out.
No. Gravity is magnified in hyperspace. Like if you run straight to a gravity well, you're a pancake. You're dead. That's why you have to plot it.
It's not Dustin Crops, kid.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's almost like in The Expanse. There was a point where a guy was going real fast and he stopped really quick and became goo.
Yeah,
it's like,
I've heard so many good things about that show.
Watch
it is good.
Which show?
The Expanse.
Where's it at? How can I watch it?
Amazon Prime.
I think I got canceled, dude.
Amazon picked it up.
Well,
thanks to Doomcock.
Well, that's
All
cool.
hell Doomcock.
I read like 5 of the novels. I don't know if there's a 6th one out yet, but it was awesome.
Like 7 or 8.
It was really, really good, really good.
Okay, now
and also that's
the
same
rolling
guy.
Question. We're supposed to get a question go between.
Through
everybody and reset.
Let's roll that.
We're going off the format that Jeff had for us.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Jeff.
No, you don't need to apologize. This is entertaining. There's a ton of people watching, so I mean. People care about what you guys have to say, so don't worry. I'm just here to talk about the EU. But if
you guys want to talk sci-fi sometime, if you guys
on.
want to talk like small sci-fi or small fantasy sometime, that'd be another cool show.
Yeah, we can talk about a show like that.
I'd be down with that.
Rod, you just remind me. Send me a message to remind me, man, and we'll make that happen. Try to do that before Horror Hound. So let's see. Zog Jones says, please make Cadmium say honk.
Cadmium.
Nathan Malia says, thoughts on nerfing the Mandalorians by Lucas and female helmets? OG Mando clans were so much more interesting.
Oh, let me take that one because I am a major Mando fan.
You got it.
Cool.
If you guys have never read Karen Travis's Clone Commandos, do so if you want to learn about Mandalorian culture and what Disney has done to Mandalorian culture. Almost makes you want to hurl. Especially them nerfing the armor and all that, because Beskar, the Mandalorian iron, you could take a lightsaber, hit it 3 or 4 times in the same place, and it wouldn't crack and it wouldn't break. It was one of the few things that could stop a lightsaber.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I remember the Mandalorians from Revan, because the thing that gets Revan to and the Revanites, which Revanites were a group of Jedi that said we cannot stand by and let this evil continue, and the Jedi were like, nope. We're not getting into it, and that's what started the whole Knights of the Old Republic arc.
Yeah,
and they got into that one was the Mandalorian Wars, and they were perverted by a Sith into into war, which was they were always down for, and and that's how that whole conflict started. So that's my experience with the Revan and the Mandalorians, and also a little bit of the Mandalorian lore. They have kind of like a leader that they call the
Mandalore.
Mandalore the Great. Yeah.
He's like the Sithari of the Mandalorians.
Rod, I would highly recommend playing the Clone Commando game and reading the Clone Commando books if you really want to learn about Mandalorian culture.
So listen,
I'll get into it.
If you want to talk about like pre-Disney, like Disney made like Mandalorian culture almost like egalitarian, like where they have some sort of like, you know, like lords and, you know, ladies and all this other kind of stuff.
Oh,
but
God,
like
what Disney did in the Clone Wars for the Mandalorians, I cried.
But like
they Game of Thronesified it.
But even KOTOR changed a lot of the original Mandalorian lore too, because the original Mandalorian lore was that Mandalore was this planet that had been like ravaged by war, and it's where like all of the all the lost boys of the universe essentially came together and formed a tribe where it was all different species, you know, fighting under one common purpose, and they became the first Mandalorians. Like
so more like pirates than royalty.
And not only that, but they weren't like humans. Like you would take off a Mandalorian's helmet and it'd be a Rodian or a Bothan or any of that kind of stuff, because they were like they all have tattoos that say like something like I'm gonna mess this up, but it's family is is more than blood.
Yes. In Mandalorian culture, it doesn't matter if you were born a Mandalorian or adopted into a Mandalorian. If you're a Mandalorian, you're a Mandalorian. You can be adopted, you can be born into it. You don't have to be human, you could be anything.
Yeah, so it's more like being in a gang, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But but that's their culture as like a planetary warrior mercenary gang, which is just like way cooler than anything that's been. Even in KOTOR, they made them kind of like the Sith like tricked them because they were like, you know, not unified or whatever, but like this was like a group of people who like came together and unified because they had no other family. Like it was a gang. Like they had no other family, you know.
They were like the outsiders.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna trick the gang by like getting a couple of the members, you know, to like screw up, because they layers of like, you know, abstraction between leadership and like the bottom, you know.
Oh, guys, but guys, fun fact though, Boba Fett ended up Mandalorian in the later EU books.
Yeah. In the original, he was a Mandalorian before the prequel movies.
Yeah.
No, but you mean like boss of all Mandalore, right?
He was Mandalore.
He was like like Planet Hulk, like.
Yeah.
No, like Boba Fett in like the last series of Aboleth, and right before it, like when they kill Jason Solo, he is Mandalore, like the leader of the clans.
Does he ever fight Jodo Cast? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think he might have.
Jodo Cast was another EU dude running around in Mandalorian armor, oftentimes pretending to, like, he was kind of like he was a Greedo level bounty hunter, not like a Boba Fett level bounty hunter.
Only got shot.
And so he was masquerading as someone like way more badass because he had like allegedly it was authentic, but he wore Mandalorian armor as well.
Perpetrating a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, guys, we're getting requests on what we think of Karen Travis.
Well, hold on. Let's get a few of these. These people have been waiting. I don't want to make them think I forgot. So James says the fuzzy goose goes honk.
Oh, that's my buddy again, making me do that right there. He sent like a second super chat trying to ask me to do the same thing. So that's what that was.
Well, thank him for me. Thanks, Zog Jones. Mareth Theoline says, hello, everyone, just tuning in. Well, thank you, Mareth Theoline, for joining us tonight. Winter Soldier sent in 2. Winter Soldier, I'm going to read these as one combined one with the correction. Sequel trilogy should have been Cold War like Empire, East German, Rebels fracture into the NATO/Warsaw Pact and their proxy wars, Vietnam, Korea, Angola, etc. More EU influence possibilities. Thoughts?
I love that.
That could be
Yeah, sounds good.
interesting.
Yeah, pretty much anything would have been interesting.
Because wasn't the entire EU like influenced by the Cold War, kind of?
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
I mean, all of Star Wars is influenced by the Cold War. Like the reason why the Ewoks were such a were tribal and not like, yes, they were for toys, but they were going to do Wookiees originally anyways, and it was meant to represent like the Viet Cong like taking on like the
U.S. Army.
Well, and the French and all that other kind of stuff. You know, like George, one of the things that's really interesting about the sequel trilogy is that the concept is that demilitarization is what got us into this kind of hijinks in the first place. Like if the Republic wouldn't have like decided like, hey, we won the war, let's throw away all the guns, like then the First Order wouldn't have come into being, and that was like why the Resistance like came into being. But like that is like entirely counter to the kind of the fiber of what Star Wars was telling us from the beginning. It was kind of about the military-industrial complex and all that kind of stuff.
As a veteran, I always feel, especially nowadays,
like
I'm a clone from the old Republic in an empire that I really don't understand because it doesn't stand for
I'm
me.
the United States Marine, so I feel you on that one. And
so, have you guys seen Rebels?
Yes, I have.
Not me, no.
There's like this episode about the lost fucking clones who ripped their chips out and didn't commit Order 66.
Fun fact, it was which clone was it? I can't remember his name for the life of me. Right, Rex.
Rex.
Captain Rex was the old trooper on Endor.
Oh, I remember that. He had that beard, right?
Yeah, the old guy on Endor. That's Rex.
Yeah,
awesome.
Really? In the Return of the Jedi
with the beard and the mustache, that guy.
Yeah, the old fart in Return of the Jedi.
How about it?
I think I have his Star Wars card in my closet, actually.
Guys, we're getting some flack in the chat about going too much on Disney Star Wars when we're supposed to be in EU.
Talking about
really? Well, this is about having different opinions, and if there's people in the chat that can't stand different opinions, they know where the door is.
Yeah, with a bird. So let's see. Jedi Rider says thoughts on the new Thrawn trilogy. Or sorry, thoughts on the new Thrawn novel. Excuse me.
I haven't read it yet.
I haven't read that one yet.
I have read it.
It just came out too.
Yep, I have read it. It was good, man. Timothy Zahn does a good job of kind of picking up Thrawn where he like never imagined leaving him off at, I guess. Like the best way to put it is the best books in the new EU canon are Thrawn and Tarkin. And
what time period is that set in?
Thrawn is set like essentially it pretends that the Thrawn trilogy didn't happen, and it's kind of like Thrawn like
from what I understand, it's like right before New Hope. It's like it's like right around the time of Rebels, as I recall, or right before it.
And is he with the Empire still, or?
Oh yeah, he's a Grand Admiral and everything.
Well, no, like the Thrawn novel is about how the Empire finds Thrawn. Like Thrawn puts himself. This is why the book is so interesting, is because they're setting up Thrawn to be even more interesting than he even ever was when he was kind of fascinating in the first place.
Yeah, he was.
Because Thrawn, we know him to be like super cunning and ruthless, you know.
But there's also a good side. He recognizes that sometimes doing the right thing is what is most strategically convenient.
Well, because he's like a Sun Tzu, you know what I mean? Like he believes in, you know, thoroughly crushing your enemy, but he doesn't believe that war is like the permanent state of affairs. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
it's all.
Yeah, he also believes in studying his enemies.
Yeah,
very closely, and every detail is very important.
He says that he studies the art of war in order to perfect it. But
Also make mention of paintings and stuff like that. Like he likes to study paintings like he studies his enemies.
He studies.
If any of you know Ender's Game, you know that one of the things about that sci-fi, sci-fi. I think it was a novel and it's also a movie. Is that this is a guy that he's not the biggest guy on the block. He's not the strongest, but he studies you, and he studies you to a point that he loves you, and he knows everything about you. And because he loves you and knows everything about you, he knows where your heart is. And because he knows where your heart is, Ender will grab your heart and rip it out because he knows exactly where it is.
That was the one thing I liked about the Thrawn trilogy.
Thrawn definitely pulls from Ender in that way. But what I was gonna say about the new book though is that Thrawn essentially puts himself close to the Emperor on purpose. Like, he comes in from the Outer Rim and he essentially pretends he's kind of like stranded on some like ship, and they want to ask him all these questions, and he gets them to like take him back to the Empire, and like from there he essentially just kind of Jason Bourne's his way to like the Emperor's inner circle.
He rises by merit.
Well, yeah, but also by just like knowing that like there's no point talking to anybody but the Emperor. Like
that kind of retcons the way that he originally came in the EU, because if you guys have ever read the Outbound Flight, that's when we actually really meet Thrawn in the EU, which is before the Clone Wars.
Yeah. In this, basically how it works is that Thrawn is it's basically he is going to he decides that he's been exiled from his people, and he is going to sell information about the unknown regions, like not necessarily for credits but for influence and power, to the Emperor. He's like, I won't, like, you guys have no concept of what you're messing with out there. You're going to encounter things that you could not even begin to imagine. And that's why my people are all so strong, is because like we've been raised to like in that crucible, And so like, that's why the Emperor is so fascinated with Thrawn, is because Thrawn understands this like threat in the unknown regions that like the Emperor like was previously only heard rumors of, and Thrawn's like his link to that. And so that's kind of what the novel sets up.
I'm wondering if they're going to bring the Far Outsiders in that way, because if you ever read the book about Rogue Planet about Zoama Sekot, that's actually the first time you ever find out about the Far Outsiders, and that's why Palpatine, besides trying to kill and destroy the Jedi, embarks upon the mission he does, is to get ready for the Far Outsiders when they finally get to our galaxy. That's one of the big reasons why he created the Empire.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to that because I'm not even super familiar with the Far Outsiders.
Well, the Far Outsiders are the Yuuzhan Vong.
Oh, okay.
All right, I'm pretty sure you learn about the Far Outsiders in the Thrawn trilogy, which would be before that. Because Thrawn
the only
goes
time
to
you
his
hear
home
about
planet to pick up his 501st people that he's going.
No, the first time you ever hear about him is Rogue Planet, besides the Yuuzhan Vong actual books. But in the Thrawn trilogy, no, you never hear about him.
There's like way more Thrawn books than we're actually aware of, though. Like, or at least for me personally, like I was aware of the Heir to the Empire series, but there's like 9 Thrawn or 8 Thrawn books or something like that.
There's the Hand of Thrawn duology.
There's the Outbound Flight has its own trilogy, I think.
No, it's only one book.
No, it's only one book, and then there's Survivor Quest, which is after. Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so I mean that's a ton of stuff, but then I don't know how much of that they're gonna try and like piece together into its own story. I feel like almost like that is like the brewing like beyond
what Timothy Zahn's gonna do and what he's gonna be able to get away with under
Well, I almost feel like that's what they're considering, like like when they pass this Skywalker arc, like where they're headed, I think is this like.
Well, the one thing about pisses me off about all this is is on like Collider Video. John Campy was talking about when Luke Skywalker rebound, the AT-AT's shots back at it, and saying, "Well, that's ridiculous. That's how ridiculous how powerful he is, and all that." And then we see Force Awakens when Kylo Ren or Solo Ren stops the blaster point and just, okay.
Yeah, but that's from like a pistol though, and not from like a high like caliber cannon, dual cannon. But
I come from the Collider crew. I mean, not from the Collider crew like working there, but I was a big fan, followed them for years, and then I saw them just push me out and block me over and over. They have become completely garbage. The things that they used to denounce, they now praise, and I just don't like those people at all.
I think if we would have seen Luke deflect like 12 dual cannons, like laser blasts with his lightsaber, like we would have come out of it kind of shitting on that too, because it would have looked kind of weird.
Yeah, but if it's like if
they're on the Blu-ray,
the whole setup is weird, like Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like I don't want to like nitpick on The Last Jedi's idiosyncrasies, because there was just like there was an infinite quantum universe, multiverse full of ideas that would have been better than it. That's the best thing I can say.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Go ahead.
But another thing pisses me off is those guys, the Clutter Video and Ingrid Joe, said they didn't want to see the USS on Vaughn, but yet we got the giant Death Star, the Empire Strikes Back, and now we're going to get the Return of the Jedi in Episode 9. It's like, really, I would like to see something different than that, because I know there's going to be another super weapon in the third movie.
God, if they do that, I'm going to be so
I cut
mad.
Andre Joe some slack because he went against the grain while a lot of people were just afraid to say anything. I remember clearly because I used to watch, I don't know if anybody here knows Dash Star.
Yeah, I know Dash Star.
Okay,
Actually,
you remember how heartbreaking it was to just hear him quit because he couldn't take the people mad at him for not liking Last Jedi.
Yeah. Well, he done a podcast with someone talking about how fucked up The Last Jedi was and how all this, this forced diversity, as Jeff has said several times in his past videos. He just shook his hands like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah, he started coming back with going into the games with the Knights of the Force Unleashed, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But I saw that. I saw I saw that shift, and witnessing it was, the only channel that didn't just block me or get rid of me was a channel that I watched for art reasons, which was Brutal Portfolio Reviews by Ethan Van Sciver, and that's where I learned about how this thing is kind of coordinated, and not only that it happens in other media like games and also in comics, and that's that's what opened my eyes to all of this. I'm already retired. I'm not in this to make myself a big show or make myself, I just want to put the message out there that good reviewers are needed. Like I always say about Jeff, he protects my pocket. I don't want to spend $50 on a movie that sucks because these people are in the Last Jedi Blu-ray. Like Collider.
Yeah, especially them.
Go ahead, John.
I was just going to say, they should have made Tales of the Bounty Hunters.
Oh God, that'd have been so fun.
Into how they're doing the MCU where they do one for each of them, and they have crossovers. They could have done one for each of the Empire Strikes Back, Bridge of the Executor bounty hunters, like Boba Fett, Zuckuss, Forlom, Dengar, Boss, IG-88.
Yeah,
they could have done that and then had them all cross over. Individually run into each other a couple times or whatever, and then all in a big movie together. It could have been dope, and when no one would have been mad about them messing with the original characters or whatever. I don't know why they did what they did.
Each of their movies could have been a specific bounty that they had to collect, and if it would have been for say the Empire, the Empire could be in that movie somehow too, or something.
Guys, they could have done noir.
You could have shown them working for both sides too, which would have been cool.
John, no, this would have been better. They could have done Sin City style, where they're all in one movie, but they each have a section of their own. They all crisscross, and
it's
like an anthology bounty hunter.
Yeah, an anthology, like the Bounty Hunter anthology. I would have watched the shit out of that. I still probably would like maybe consider it if it was directed by the right person, but like.
Look at who's
like I still haven't seen Solo, guys. I haven't even pirated it. This is the first movie in my my lifetime I did not see the opening night, and I haven't seen it yet.
It's a 5 out of 10 at best. It's totally forgettable.
I'll never watch the Solo movie. Never.
I did, and like I said, it was an okay science fiction flick, but it was not a good Star Wars movie.
Here, dude. Here's
I got 15 minutes into it, and I had to stop.
Here's
my.
Took
me 3 times, each time 5 minutes each. And I got 15 minutes into the movie, and I haven't went back.
Here's my pitch for episode 9. So Boba Fett is having like a hallucination from like malnutrition as he's digested slowly over 30 years that it's been in the Sarlacc pit. And he's been having this revenge fantasy about Luke and Han, the people.
That's a lot of time to spend.
Well, no, it keeps you alive. It keeps you alive.
He must be eating Sarlacc in there.
No, it's canon that it gives you nutrients on purpose to keep you alive. Like
that's weird.
Oh, I thought it was just a robot chicken thing.
No, but
that's what I was thinking about too.
So listen, so Boba Fett's in the pit, has this like revenge fantasy about Han and Luke, the guys who killed him, basically like growing up to be shitty old men and then dying, and then he realizes that it was all a dream, and he gets out of the pit and he's like, "I'm coming for you guys," and like that's the beginning of the Boba Fett spinoff. Come on, like that.
I see that, but the way I would see this is my perfect episode 9 opening. You see some hazy parts of Force Awakens and Last Jedi. You see a little bit of a younger Luke before all this. You paint the beard a little, so all this would be happening. He would still have the same age look, but the beard would make him look younger. And this all happens before Kylo turns, and he sees what might happen, and then you're just retconning. It was just a dream. He wakes up, and when he wakes up, he runs out, and he sees that Ben has just killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
No, not like a dream, but like more like he was in a meditation, and the Force showed him
Something like that.
Yeah,
no, actually, the initial draft it had Luke floating. You remember the scene with the Rey lifting all the rocks?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be something from a little bit of the lore and a little bit of the old script. He was supposed to be found meditating, lifting these huge boulders, like 7 huge boulders around a circle, and it was said that he lifted 7 and Yoda could only lift 6.
That was
supposed to be super.
That was in the Academy series.
Yeah. There you go. Then you know what I'm talking about.
So one of the things that I saw a couple times in the chats or whatever were just wanting us to go farther back in time in the EU.
Exar Kun. Like I saw a couple things about Exar Kun.
Tells the Jedi stuff.
Like
Exar Kun was cool.
Well, we had a couple more we had to answer first.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, sorry.
Cesario Japan says Darth Talon is the best female Sith. Prove me wrong.
Yes.
I can't. She was amazing. She was the best part out of the whole Cade Skywalker comic.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Kathleen Kennedy is the greatest Dark Lord of them all.
yes.
Destroying the EU is the biggest thing you could ever do, and the Dark Lord could do that.
She's the fruition of the 1,000-year Sith legacy right there.
Yeah, but honestly, which one do you want to sleep with?
She's the new Palpatine.
I'll get a hooker. I'm not messing with it.
Ty TV says Knights of the Old Republic 2000 RPG still more profitable than Disney Star Wars.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah. Right
Have you
now,
guys seen the box office
the
Solo?
Republic right now is more profitable than anything Disney's doing.
Look, people are making their own stuff. We were just talking about fan films.
Yeah.
I contacted a couple of people that did Imps the Republic. I don't know if you guys have seen Imps. It's they have really funny.
Yeah,
no, it's kind of like Troopers. It's kind of like the Troopers, the one that's like Cops, but it has more of a
Cops.
No, it's wonderful. Oh my God, if you
No,
haven't seen
Cops
Troops,
was awesome. I love Cops.
well,
Cops
they made
Star
Troops
Wars.
is a Star
Or
Wars
Troops,
version of
yeah,
Cops.
Troops, I'm sorry.
but they have something like that called imps, right? And one of the first episodes, you have the like a a squad that of they go into the depths of Coruscant, and they're hunting someone that's hunting within the city limits without a license. And they're going in, and they pop in and they find a predator, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, you're hunting without a license. What about this xenomorph skull over here? It looks like you're hunting without a license." And you see, like, it's hilarious. I mean,
I've seen that. It is.
There was
seen that?
like a part, I think, in Imps where it was like there was a scene where they were like on some ice world, not Hoth, but some other like ice world, and they were like saying, "Oh yeah, this is like the life of us stormtroopers on the battlefield, like inside the barracks of the AT-ATs and stuff like that." And I thought
Imps
that was
is like
pretty
SWAT.
cool.
The ace is right. I saw the ace in the chat saying Imps is like SWAT. He is correct. And what you're saying is right. I remember that episode. I remember they started getting on one of them for having collateral damage, that he hit one of his own troops, and the fragger. They go back and forth a little bit. For people that have been a little bit in the military and or police work, it has a little bit of more of an appeal. But they're restarting it. Imps is starting over. They have a brand new trailer. I forgot to mention it last time, but they are starting up. And one of the visual effects supervisor, I got in contact with him, and he might pop in when we do it next time. I spoke to him. He seems like a very nice fellow.
Damn, dude, you got connections.
I just go out there. I didn't know the guy. I just went on their page and say, "Hey, I'm doing a little thing. I might mention it. I'm trying to get there." But we didn't have time. But they're like, "Hey, you didn't mention." And I was, "Oh, you know what? My apologies. It ran a little long. I should have switched the last film for just the Imps trailer and cut it shorter. But I'm gonna make sure I mention it next time." And he volunteered for it. I was like, "Yeah, let's do it. No problem."
You just give me all the dates and we'll make it happen, man.
Awesome.
I have something about like another fan thing that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to let you answer some super chats. We're up like 50 viewers in 5 minutes.
I know. I just saw that jump up. So the Grand Inquisitor, did y'all read Republic Commando books? And are you pissed that we'll never get the last book because of Disney? Such a great series.
I love those books. It's my third favorite series behind X-Wing and Darth Bane, and I am so mad we'll never get that last book. I mean, Karen Travis was shit writing the main line series books, but her Republic Commando books are on point.
Anyone else?
I haven't read them, but
Never
read them.
There's like a queue of books I'm mad we never got. That's like a mile long, so that'll have to go at the bottom.
Yeah.
I might have to go the audiobook route with those, but I really want to get into a lot of this other EU lore and fan film things and all these things. Oh, it looks like EVS had a stream that ended now. That might be our
okay.
And I want to say Uncle E is the whole reason I'm here, the whole reason I'm understanding all this stuff. Uncle E is the best. I've never talked to him in person, but I'm a huge fan. And I'm also a big fan of Cecil. Cecil is love. And, if you get to know him for a while, he's also, that he's super chat catnip because people pay to troll him, and the same people later pay to defend him when they get to know him. Because he's a good dude. He's an okay dude.
Uncle E.
I really like Jeff's impression of EVS.
Oh my god, yeah, Jeff does a really good job of
Jeff's impression of EVS. It's pretty good.
I'll close the show out with that. I gotta get some more water before I do that one. Marette Aline says, my top EU moment is the Thrawn trilogy, specifically where Thrawn almost destroys the New Republic, but gets assassinated by his own guard.
Yeah, because he never saw it coming, because he never studied the Nogari. That was a great scene.
Yep.
Jedi Rider asks, what's your favorite X-Wing book?
I Jedi.
Wraith Squadron. No, I Jedi's not part of the X-Wing series.
I know it's not.
Well,
But it's the same characters, though.
Oh, Curran Horn's my favorite Jedi.
dude.
Everybody likes Kyle Katarn. I'm a Curran Horn fanboy.
I'm a little bit ignorant as to the literature outside the EU games. I'm more of an EU games person, but I'm going to start getting into it. I want to get to know this stuff.
Rogue
a lot of great people.
2 was awesome. I love that game.
Oh, yeah. And it's a Star Wars game I played the entire trilogy of. That was my shit right there.
I own the second one and the third one, but I'd never played the first one.
It's so fun.
I think Wedge's Gamble might have been my favorite, if I remember correctly.
Well, I got a package
Wraith
from
Squadron.
Steam. I got a package from Steam, and if you go into Steam, they have this package where you get all of the old. I got it basically because I wanted Empire
At War.
At War. You know, I love that game, but it brought a whole both of the Knights of the Old Republic books. It brings games. It brings a lot of the old games. So if you guys are into gaming and you want to show the EU some love, you could get in on Steam and you know, buy this, and you could also hit Jeff up with some of them Patreon subscriptions, and you know, a buck goes a long way. $5 is just, what was it, 17 cents a day?
Yeah, thanks for the pitch, man.
All right. Hey, you know, I'm all about the cause, man. I'm all about the cause.
Hey, you
on.
gotta go premium Jeff subscription or nothing.
Yeah, get that free T-shirt. If you haven't responded back to my messages, folks, make sure you check your inbox, because at the beginning of the month is when I start reaching out to everybody. So let's see who else we had. I just wanted to put that out there because a couple people haven't responded yet, so I don't know if they're listening right now. Ivan Nieves says, favorite moment, Rebel Assault, Cloaked Tie shooting down every minor character in Rogue Squadron 64. Rear shields down. Blech. I'm clear, but my fighter is down. Rogue Squadron 64. I haven't played that game in like a decade.
Oh my
God.
That was a good one.
Rebel Assault and Rebel Assault 2, and I think the second Rebel Assault game is by far the best one, because the first one, its controls were terrible.
Yeah, in the second one, don't you have like lethal enforcers, like rail gunning?
I guess I'm not sure because I played on.
You get out of the like the X-wing and like go shoot stormtroopers and stuff like that.
Yeah, you were in a wing at the start, and then you like crash on some world and you shoot stormtroopers, and then you fly the like a YT-1300 Corellian transport through like a mining tunnel.
Yeah,
and
Shadows of the Empire. That was dope. You got to fly the YT
2400 Outrider.
Yeah,
the Outrider, my favorite ship.
I remember that game.
Mm-hmm.
Wish we can get that character in the movies.
No, we'll never get Dash Rendar, unfortunately.
Oh. But you know what the sad part is? Alden Ehrenreich would have been a better Dash Rendar than he was on Han Solo.
Yeah, he probably would have fit the role just fine.
He would have been pretty good.
True. I played the Battlefront fighting games, and I gotta tell you, I like the controls. I just don't like it. I prefer hand over throttle and stick, what they call hold-ass type controllers.
Oh yeah,
and it does not give you that option. I used to play a lot of Ace Combat. I don't know if there's any Ace Combat fans out there.
Yes.
So you understand the kind of maneuverability where you get to the HOTAS, the hand over throttle and stick. You know, it's a much better flight mechanism. I even filed a complaint at the Better Business Bureau because their system was just bad. What you wouldn't know what updates. You get like these little alerts that you have some kind of a new thing for your ship or your character, and then you go and there's nothing there, and the control system was so bad, and I just figured I try to get as many complaints against those people. They also had the thing where in Battlefront, if we're talking about game stories and those micro plot transactions, they had an incredibly soy Battlefront story. It was just bad. It was unbelievable that this person that was like an Empire SWAT would just turn into a
Inferno Squad.
Yeah, it was just like I'm not buying. I don't buy this arc. I don't buy any of this.
Originally, the storyline was supposed to be about her and her squad going off into the unknown regions, being set up as the First Order. But because the EA, obviously EA, fucked that up. And now, at the moment where she turns and finds out the Operation Cinder is blanketly attacking loyal planets that was loyal to the Empire, she turned out and run around right over to Princess Leia and start kissing that ass.
This whole EU buying Respawn makes me a little worried because I love Titanfall, and Titanfall could be a great version of Star Wars if you make the Titans AT-ATs and chicken walkers.
AT-STs?
Yeah, you could completely make a great Star Wars game within the Titanfall platform. But I don't know how EA would handle Respawn because I don't like how EA handles most of everything they do.
Well, it's
they
not going to go down in flames regardless.
I will say this: EA is just about as evil as Disney is. It's not more evil.
EA has completely.
That's why it's called Evil Alliance.
Evil
Yeah,
Alliance.
exactly. They should merge.
They're almost there. They're almost there.
Yeah.
Disney
EA.
should just totally buy EA just to be like, hey, you're just as evil as we are, but we're just going to eat you anyway.
Evil eats evil.
Yeah,
It's like there's
exactly.
Sith. There's a master and apprentice, and I don't know which is which there, but I know that's kind of the relationship they're going for right there.
I mean, that's probably why they forged
I'm
that
pretty sure
license,
EA is the
type
apprentice,
thing.
Yeah, I think you're right.
and the mouse is the master.
Well, look at all the
More
mouse
like
to
a
keep.
rat.
Look,
Mickey's more like a rat these days than a mouse. So.
Have you guys
Yeah,
ever?
I'm gonna go back to the
He's
James
more like
Gunn
a
thing because
Skaven.
I have seen these mouseketeers go insane, and there is no one that's gonna convince me that they don't do a lot of crazy stuff with these kids, and their whole James Gunn and getting away from this as fast as possible is part of that. I mean, you can talk it up all day. You hate me, troll me. I don't care. That's what I believe. I believe Disney has been in this pedo thing for a long time, and that's why they didn't immediately get rid of James Gunn over his tweets and not even let him in the door.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the epic rap battle of history between Jim Henson and Stan Lee that ends with Walt Disney showing up? And
I would love to see that.
I think
He's-
That was funny as hell.
dude, it's so perfect. Like, I'm gonna link it in the no, I can't link it in the chat, but it's called Epic Rap Battles of History, Jim Henson versus Stan Lee. You guys should check it out.
Post it to our
I'll check it
Facebook
out.
page after we go off air. I've seen that
Oh, yeah.
before. It's funny.
That's very funny.
Steve
Yeah.
Pena wants to know what are our thoughts on EU super weapons like Galaxy Gun?
That right there, that's a Dark Empire 2 territory. The Galaxy Gun, I honestly think is probably one of the most sinister weapons developed by the Emperor, and the fact that you can launch a projectile that could destroy any target, no matter how big or small it is, and make the projectile enter and exit hyperspace is ridiculous. That is the most terrifying thing I've ever heard of.
Sun
So-
Crusher would crush
The
it.
Sun Crusher-
Yeah, I was gonna say the Sun Crusher would crush it.
The Sun Crusher is also probably the most insidious super weapon. I think
It's pretty
that's
OP.
the scariest
Yeah.
one.
They
And
had
the
to put
fact
it into the core of a sun.
Yeah,
just so
you had
people would
to-
stop using it.
The only way that the Sun Crusher could be destroyed was that they had to put it into a black hole.
No, they dumped it into a star.
Or I
And
thought it was a
filled
black
it-
hole, but yeah,
they dumped-
they had to
No,
put
one way-
it. They had
the
to
one way to get it
destroy
off the
it in
table
that
permanently.
particular capacity.
Yeah, the one way to get it off the table permanently, you can put it in a black hole.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
guys, here's a question for you. What'd you guys think of Admiral Dalla in the later books coming back with the Maul remnants? It had all sorts of goodies, like the Chimera had this. What kind of weapon was this she put on that damn ship? I can't remember for the life of me, but she comes up to
Didn't she have like an inductor gravity well installed on it? I can't remember if that's.
an
the same
injector
thing.
gravity well and like some kind of cannon on the Chimera, and it's just like, good God, what did she do to that ship?
It's ultimate. It assumed its ultimate form, dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
I actually have the
Like a
central
Pokemon.
blood to the vehicles and vessels thing with me, and I got the page flipped to the Sun Crusher, and it said in the last sentence, the Sun Crusher was destroyed at the Battle
They
of the
dumped it in the
Maw
Maw.
when it was caught in the gravity well of one of
Yeah.
the Maw's black holes.
Oh, it was the Maul. I'm sorry.
Here's the deal. They dumped it into the sun, and then I just remembered that Kip Duran like stole it from the core of the sun, and
Yeah,
then
because that's something you do.
Yeah.
and then he took it to the Maw, and that's how it ended up getting.
And what's
destroyed.
really,
And Kip
really
Duran shoved himself into like one of those like things you get at the bank when you're in the drive-through that you put your like checkbook in and stuff, you know,
Yeah,
like the canisters. Like he folded himself into like one of those and ejected himself out of the thing at the last minute, and like Luke pulled his like spaghetti ass out of that thing and like
It was
what's really terrifying about the Sun Crusher is that it's the size of a starfighter. It's so
it's no
small.
bigger than an X-wing.
yeah, dude, it's the it's the briefcase nuke of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's extremely, extremely scary.
But you know what the sad part was when Kip Duran, he thought his brother was dead. He went to Cardia, destroyed the Cardia
Yeah, and then
system,
he killed his
found out
brother.
brother. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yep.
ouch.
I kind of like the
life.
Forge from the Knights of the Old Republic. It was like a weapon that made weapons. It would make fleets.
Oh, Starforge. Oh, that was
Starforge.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
right.
Yeah, the Forge.
Another weapon was the World Devastators.
Oh, those
yeah.
are cool.
Those
Those were
did
pain in
almost
the
the
ass
same
to kill,
thing,
bro.
but it was like in a much
Yeah.
more devastating capacity.
I found the Rakatan a little bit interesting. I also like how they used. I'm guessing because the Rakatan had the Infinite Empire, that the Infinite Fleet in Old Republic is probably tied to it.
No,
And
completely
no,
different.
it's completely different. Okay,
Completely
okay.
different.
Well,
but a great point off the Eternal. You're thinking of the Eternal Fleet, not the Infinite Fleet.
that's
Eternal
probably why I
Fleet-
got it mixed up.
The Eternal Fleet is actually made by a planet-sized robot called Iocath. It can make the Eternal Fleet. It made the Gravestone. It's just a weapon factory, but it's planet-sized. It's
But
like
they
a
didn't
Dyson
go that
sphere.
much into it in the game, did they? Or it must be a DLC that I
It's a DLC that comes after Knights of the Eternal Throne.
At
Okay.
the fringes of the Star Wars reality, it starts to blend into apparently like the MCU.
Yeah,
It
pretty
gets a little
much.
weird. It gets a little weird, but I gotta confess, I like
Is
some
that
of it.
is that spooky action at a distance?
It could be. It could
Yeah,
be.
that's how quantum physics works. That's a spooky shit from a distance. So
Well,
they
I
shouldn't be
love
doing
quantum.
that.
I love quantum physics. You know, it gets weird. It gets weird, but it's something that could be maybe visited in What If comics or something like that, where you could like mix it all up and go into far into
Well,
canon.
speaking of what if comics, there was a what if comic if Han Solo crash landed on Earth, and Chewie became the legendary Sasquatch.
Okay.
And Indiana Jones came across a starship and saw Han Solo's body because it was killed by Native Americans because it was way before colonization.
Is this like the episode of Futurama where Fry goes back in the past and like has sex with
But
his
this is like a real thing. I've
Something
read
like
this
that.
before.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard of this. It's kind of weird because I've always said Earth is canon. Because
Yeah.
why is Earth canon? Because if you remember the movie E.T. and if you remember
That's
the
what we're bringing up
prequels,
next.
ETs were in the prequels and they're called Asogians. They've been part of the canon for a very long time because
They're
Spielberg.
member world
They
of
were
the
in
Republic.
episode 1.
You want me to blow your mind? You want to know why Earth is canon? It's actually way older than that. Because in the beginning of the first movie, it says a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Far, far away from what?
From Earth.
Yeah.
Also in Raiders of the Lost Ark, there's a hieroglyph of a C-3PO unit and an RT unit.
Oh, well, that's just because it's all Han Solo's fever dream while he's trapped in carbonite.
Could be. I like if I was gonna mix them. If I'm just gonna go crazy, and this is a crazy what if story, I would use Drew Barrymore, make her part like the first agent of Shield, and she knows about the aliens that are coming. And then the Asogians, or ET, they got stuck on Earth while they were exploring because if you remember the what the Asogians were, they were explorers, right? So they went into the far reaches. They crossed a wormhole or something and wound up on Earth. And they sent a message, to the Old Republic, right? But who answers? The Empire. And then Darth Vader wants to become Emperor's Sorcerer Supreme. And he wants the time stones, and it just gets crazy and weird. Like
Rod.
what if stories get weird. This
Rod,
is what if.
have you ever heard of
canon.
Rod? Have you ever heard of Bluefire 191? He actually does a series called Earth and Star Wars, where we actually get found by hyperspace explorers in the unknown regions, and it kicks off it kicks off right around the time of the Phantom Menace, or right like
Is
you know
he
that
still making
10 years
videos? I used
Yeah,
to
he's
watch
still making
Bluefire.
videos.
Yeah, he's still making
man,
videos.
they
He was in
unsubscribed me
my council.
then. I thought he kind of quit. He fell off my radar, but this thing might have unsubscribed
He's doing
me.
Warhammer stuff, but
Yeah.
but his Earth and Star Wars, like where he takes it's great.
No, he
loved
really
it.
digs Mandalorian. His whole avatar is like a Mandalore thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey guys, to plug something, if you guys have ever been into text-based role-playing games like MUDs, which were like the original multiplayer games before like World of Warcraft and all that shit, legendsofthejedi.com is this game that's been around since I was in high school, and it's all like tons of people playing still, and it's not just like you sitting around being like, oh, I shoot my gun at you. Like there's mechanics and everything, but it's like they have like a moving timeline that each lasts like 3 eras that are 6 months long, and then they player wipe. So like it's, you know, no players have like 20-year-old characters that are super OP and
So
stuff.
it's like a tabletop kind of
Yeah, kind of that,
approach.
but like imagine that it's like you can move around the world, you can interact with stuff, skills and all that kind of stuff, but like everything's just like a written description, and they use color to differentiate stuff. So if I walked into a room, I can tell that something's a bad guy and something's an object on the floor based on the color that they are on my screen, more than having to read them. It's fancy, cool. Dude. I've been playing it since I was like 15. I'm on a break right now, but like it's a good crew of like 200 people that have like a really interesting Star Wars expanded universe experience all the time. I thought I would put a shout out, legendsofthejedi.com.
Yeah, feel free to post that on our Facebook page so people can find that.
Cool.
Let's see. Ghosty Ghost says, I'm sorry, guys, I'm late. Well, Ghosty Ghost, I think everyone on the panel can find it in their hearts to forgive you.
Yes.
I can't. Tardiness is unforgivable. It's heresy.
We've been waiting for that conversation with you, man.
The Cobra Viper says, love to hear the panel's thoughts on Karen Travis. And then let me read 2 of these together because these kind of go together. Cobra Viper asked that, and then Chapter Master Dante also said, does the panel believe Disney killed the EU just to cannibalize it later? Also, Karen Travis is a hack writer. Her Halo book sucked. So, first off, we'll talk about... okay, so what are your thoughts on Karen Travis?
I don't know her.
I have none. I've never read her work.
I'll stand to that one. Her, like I said, her Claude Commando books are good, hands down good. Her Halo books were okay, but she did a really shitty job with Osman. But
yeah, she got some of those things wrong.
but if you go by just her Clone Commandos books, she's good at writing commando style stuff. She is good at that. But anything else in, say, the EU, she shit the bed. She Mary sued the shit out of the Mandalorians when she shouldn't have done that.
Well, do you believe that Disney killed the EU just to cannibalize it later? That was another part from
I'm still waiting for the cannibalization, because that would be way the hell better than whatever the hell. I was actually kind of hoping that it would cannibalize it, kind of to the way Marvel has done to their comic storylines, that pulled all the really great storylines and make them into good movies.
I would say cannibalization, but not in a traditional way. They're not gorging. They're just nitpicking little things that they know
like
fans
Thrawn.
love, like Thrawn.
Yeah.
And the rest they're just
but they're not really doing Thrawn.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is it's not even really cannibalization. It's like they're creating horrors out of like parts of like your like friends and family.
Well, John, take Kylo Ren for example. He's an amalgamation of Jason Solo, Anakin Solo, and Ben Skywalker.
Because they don't want to give royalties for Ben. They don't want to give Jansen Solo royalties, right? You don't want to give those royalties, so you make Ben.
And you have to throw in some Darth Revan in there too, because
he doesn't allow
No. Just as far as the looks. As far as the looks.
No, it reminds me a little of
simpler, but I see it.
It reminds me a little of.
No, he's actually a lot more like Cadus. That's actually the mask they have on Kylo Ren is what they want to do with Cadus.
I was going to say that he's a lot more like Matthew McConaughey, the taking the shirt off and all that kind of stuff.
That too. Swolo.
Has blow up. They can land a starship on.
No, but this goes back to what I say. They will morph anything they can just to not pay that royalty. They don't want to pay the royalty for Jansen Solo. They don't want to pay for any of the things that you love. They'll go very minimal. It's like, okay, we're gonna take this that because if we don't give you this, you're gonna go insane. And these 3 things we're gonna mix them so we don't have to pay royalties for them.
Exactly. And Rey is a mixed mash of Mara Jade and Jaina Solo, and a bit of Tahiri. She's a mismatch of that. If you seriously look at her character,
a bad mix,
except for not good.
Except for not good. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was in the oven too long.
Look, you might enjoy a Big Mac or a Whopper, and you might also like my ice cream, But you can't mix it and sell it and think it's going to be good just because you don't want to call it a Whopper, you don't want to call it a Frosty. I mean, they're mixing things that are good separate, trying to mash it together, and yeah, this is great. No, it's not. And do not.
I don't think every hamburger sounds like a good plan to sell. So
everyone needs to go look up Dorito flavored Mountain Dew because
I've seen the new Coke example thrown around too.
Now they tested Dorito flavored Mountain Dew in a few different areas, and it was not a success.
It sounds like one soda company that makes turkey flavored soda.
Like I would have taken Mountain Dew flavored like Doritos. The flavor crystals could have been interesting, maybe, but like what?
I mean, there's this page.
Why would you drink Doritos? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird.
All right, so Jeff, hit us up with some more of those super chats.
Yeah. These characters are like going to the barber or going to get a haircut in your favorite restaurant. It's like, I like getting a haircut, but I don't like, and I like food, but these are not things that belong together.
Not
exactly.
At all.
It's like going to a strip club and a getting your teeth worked on at a dentist. The same place.
That's just
really.
sanitary.
You know, some things you want to keep separate, and some things you want high quality, and whatever that other part is.
I think they're just being cheap. I think they just don't want to pay royalties. I think they will do the bare minimum royalties, and that's why we got Thrawn. And that's why we got like a TIE fighter here and there, and just mixed enough, changed enough so that they don't have to pay royalties.
It's because
that's what it is.
Cheap. That's why.
Well, they're also creatively bankrupt.
Yeah, they can't think to save their skin.
Well,
look at who they hire.
The problem is they have a wealth of information and great storylines that they could be pulling from.
They don't want to pay royalties.
But they refuse to.
Yeah, they refuse to pull from any of it, although they're sitting there watching Marvel be totally successful doing that.
Yeah,
So you could be
exactly. So
making
it's like, why aren't
Marvel
they taking lessons from their playbook and using them to their best advantage?
Like, for example, the Cyrook. I would love to see them on the big screen.
Oh, the SSI Rook, whatever they're called?
The Cyrook, yes.
Okay.
This is like Imperial Intelligence?
There's
I'm not familiar with
ships of theirs inside my book. Shreewers were some of their ships.
Yeah.
What else they got?
If you've ever read the book Truce at Bakura, they're really heavily shown there.
They're pretty interesting looking ships too. They look like almost like eggs, sort of.
Oh yeah, they're intense. In fact, it's the first time you see Luke Skywalker Truce at Bakura be a commander. Like he commands a flotilla. Like commands Rogue Squadron, a ship. The Quasar Fire you see in Rebels? That was actually first shown in Truce at Bakura.
I'm not too familiar with this. I like I said, I go more into the games, but I want to look into it.
Well, here's something you guys might want to look into. Raven Eye Review says Gorham Bevan was a gay Mando by Karen Traviss in Star Wars Legacy. First gay Star Wars character was Fets number 2 when Mandalore. That's the end of the sentence.
Yeah, he was. She went a little too far. So
they're not even innovative. All the claim they have, with this thing with Holdo, getting the Force as a kind of STD from Leia. That they didn't have to go there.
I think that makes like a ton of sense if you look at the Mandalorian culture, like as it was originally written. Though it's very much like that, like Greek, Roman, like brothers in arms, and
like the Spartans.
Yeah, exactly. So like cold nights, man. Like
but the thing is though, the Mandalorians were so inclusive. They didn't care what your ideology was as long as you adapted to the culture and fought. You're Mando. They don't care if you're gay, straight.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is I would think that while we recognize that, while we recognize certain characteristics, and we say, oh well, that's gay. Like to the Mandalorians, like that's maybe not what they would even like think of or like recognize. Like they might just be like, oh, that person like is in a relationship with dudes most of the time. That's normal. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of dudes in our culture.
Oh, and fun fact,
Jeff, that actually might be an interesting title to give this EU discussion panel, the Mandalorian Brotherhood.
Hey, I'm with you.
I like it.
No, but one other thing. if you go back to the Clone Wars books, like the first Clone Commando book, most of the trainers for the clone army were actually Mandalorians. They were called the Darmanda. Basically, they are considered dead. For 10 years, they basically fell off the map at Jango Fett's call, because Jango Fett was actually Mandalore. And he basically brought in all these people he knew. Some of them were like Corellian and like other people he knew, but a lot of them were Mandalorians. The Clone Commandos were trained by Waylon Val and Cal Scarata. And
I heard that facing the Mandalorians is what turned Dooku.
No,
that might be a
that-
Disney thing.
That is vaguely correct. Okay, so the way that the Jedi handled the incident on Yinchor, is what became the initial rift that Dooku felt like this is headed in. We're heading in like idealistic, like our ideals are headed in opposite directions, right? Like I'm seeing this happening before my eyes, with the way that Jedi are dying, and yet the Jedi are still like, the Jedi Council will not let us like detach ourselves from this republic that is clearly in its death throes.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing when I saw like The Last Jedi, when he said when Luke says the Jedi were at the height of their power. No, they weren't.
No.
Hell, in number 2, Yoda says the dark side has risen. We can't see anymore.
Like
we're blind.
We're blind. Yeah.
The thing is that like fundamentally,
they had power for 1,000 years. How could you call it weak? The Republic is weak. Look, one side held power for 1,000 years. The other side held power for 30 years and lost it. So
Wrong.
you can about
what happened? What happened was Darth Bane, because what happened was the Battle of Ruusan. The Brotherhood of Darkness was just as widespread as the Jedi, but
Bane did some house cleaning.
Bane saw as they were diluting their power, and he basically took from Revan, because he actually goes to Rakana and finds a holocron that Revan left behind. He comes up with the rule too of we have to make ourselves scarce. We have to hide. We have to gain our power. We have to pull to make ourselves the strongest.
I'm talking about ultimate control. I mean, you could say that.
No, the Sith were in the background the entire millennium.
Yeah, but you can't tell me you're so powerful if you're just working in the background. And once you get power, once you gain absolute control and absolute power, you can only hold it for 30 years. That's pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, wild card, Luke Skywalker,
There is inherently
I'm sorry,
more
Jake
power
Skywalker.
in good. I believe that to my heart. I mean, there is inherently more power in good, and the people that seek evil and its power are ultimately self-destructive. Look at Kathleen Kennedy. She wants to get those royalties. She doesn't want to give the old characters. She'll give a little bit of here and there, and then wants to mix it up to not pay the royalties. They're letting Ryan take vengeance after they fired JJ. I stand by that statement. I remember all the Collider talk and all the shows were talking about how JJ was fired and he should have been in 2, and why isn't he doing 2, and all that stuff. And that's where they started to try to take
because
control
this mystery box is very shallow. You couldn't
conversation
pull any more answers out.
Like, I think that what it boils down to is this. Like, fundamentally, I agree, and I was saying long before the Disney bought Star Wars that like the Jedi were fundamentally like digging their own grave. Like they got
too dogmatic.
They got super dogmatic. Not only that, but they are essentially a monastic organization, and like
they got too governmental.
Well, yeah, but not only that, but they got too exposed to the
corruption. The corruption of the Senate.
Basically, the Jedi work best as neutral arbitrators. But how are you going to be that when you have PTSD from watching people cut down next to you in battle and shit like that?
Well, guys, here's a question for you: how much do you know of the Jedi Order? The actual roots of
you're going back. You're going way, way back.
Oh yeah, about 20,000 years.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like the whole concept of like the Bendu, and like I thought that like Chirrut's character was kind of interesting. And in the book, I believe it's Catalyst by James Luceno, there's a bunch of like in between the chapters, there are excerpts from the Book of the Wills, I believe, that like go into that, and it's pretty interesting. But like, but what it comes down to is that like that's Jason Solo's arc from Traitor. Like,
Yeah.
Jason Solo in the book Traitor wakes up in the captured by the Yusong Vong. And this is like maybe the 5th novel of the New Jedi Order series. It's written by Matthew Stover, who also did Shatterpoint and the Revenge of the Sith novelization. He's in the top 3 of the Star Wars, maybe 4 Star Wars authors, I think. But he basically, Jason wakes up, he's captured by the Yusong Vong, and he's in this like torture chamber. And his whole experience is just that he's entirely cut off from the Force, and that everything is pain. And that pain is basically so intense that it's like manifesting to him as just this white light that he can't like escape from, and it's eating him. And like every day, this like bird woman, this alien bird, Regina or whatever, comes and just kind of taunts him, but also in this like very like kind of Sith, but also just like maybe like more neutral, kind of manipulative way of teaching him. She's like kind of berating him, and she essentially is just like, he's like, I'm cut off from the Force, I can't feel it anymore. And she's like, I'm gonna go to the Tashi station and pick up some power converters. You know?
Trolling hard.
Yeah, and basically she's just like, dude, you Jedi are silly. Like the Force, you think of it as just like one channel on the radio, and all you got to do is just like turn the bandwidth, and it's everywhere.
You're getting into basically you're getting into the gray Jedi and how you use the Force. Can you use the selfish side of the Jedi for good purposes?
We see Luke Skywalker choke a Gamorrean guard in Jabba's palace in the Return of the Jedi. So I mean, this is old,
and that's how he beat Vader. He got mad. He couldn't beat him in a straight up serene
and that's why Mace Windu was so powerful as a sword fighter, is because he learned to channel exactly. But so the thing about Jason though is that he essentially, from Vergeer, had this conversation over a long period of time where she just told him that like he had this very narrow-minded opinion of the Force, and like the reason why the Vong had just been running over the galaxy is because they were just like an anomaly in the Force. Like the Force like you couldn't sense them, so like Jedi battle meditation was useless. Like you couldn't use the Force on them, like any of this kind of stuff. So Jedi were just, and their weapons could resist lightsabers, so they were just like just plowing through all the young Jedi that Luke had been churning out for however long.
So pretty much the Force was completely insulated, and there was nothing you could do.
And so then what Vergeer ends up doing though is that she like ran away to this she basically was like a Jedi who had been observing the Vong for like a long time.
She was actually in Rogue Planet. She was on.
Look, I want to echo what Demonic Terror is saying in the chat. It's how you use power that makes you good or evil, not that you used it.
Actually,
I'm not evil for owning a gun. I'm evil if I use the gun for evil, and good if I use the gun for good.
And that's the lesson. The lesson that Jason learns from Vergeer is that essentially like he learns that it's the intent for which you use the Force, and not like the way that you use the Force. And so like he's confronted by like several hundred Vong in like the basement of the ruined Jedi temple on Coruscant, and he just is like, you know what? Fuck this. And he just like starts using Force lightning and channeling it. But he says that he's like, instead of feeling hatred, he was just feeling like pure joy out of using it to defend like these like helpless people that he was like protecting.
It became a sociopath, more or less.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. And essentially, and the Force is fine with that, you know?
John, here's a great one. If you've ever played the game Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, it's the third out of the Jedi series. Kyle Katarn says this. He says, Force abilities are just that. It's how you use them that counts. Yep. Like Kyle Katarn will use Force lightning, not even bats an eyelash at it, but you know he'll use it to like fry a droid, fry a door open. He won't like electrocute a person.
Yeah, I like using the Force life drain.
I kind of want to make a little bit of a pause here and let kind of Jeff go through the super
Yeah,
chats.
let him do some
Yeah.
stuff for sure.
Yeah, we've been
Alright.
kind of running.
Let's see. Hyraclusiar Grimalda says, "Did they really get rid of their fucking weapons?" What was that in context to? Do you guys remember?
Oh, I know what it is.
The demilitarization
in the Last
of
Jedi.
the Republic.
In Disney's Jedi, they basically go back to the Rusan formation where they don't have a military. That's what Mon Mothma goes back to. And yes, they basically got rid of almost their entire navy, except for like a few ships.
Makes no sense.
Because at the Battle of Rusan, back in the old,
They're just like 30 years. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry, but
Okay. Mako Rex says original stories did better exploring the gray area, why Palpatine and Thrawn built the Empire, why Revan became a Sith, Priya's stance against the Jedi and Sith. Also, Karen Travis killed Mara Jade.
yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
I have that book.
Pretty much everything he said is okay.
Yeah,
That's kind of one of the reasons that I was kind of hopeful that they would pick and choose which parts of the EU that they would resurrect, but then they resurrected almost none of it.
yeah.
Luke's Starkiller is saying, "Are you saying bongs?" We're not saying use them bongs. If you want to use them bongs, that's up to you. They're called the Yuzang Bon. It's a different thing.
Yeah, it's not use them bongs. It's use on bongs.
Here, let me type it in chat right
yes,
here.
Yes. On with the super chats.
Kamikaze Johnson, again, thank you, Mako Rex. That was a very generous super chat. Kamikaze Johnson wants to know, does Ryan Johnson's head have a gravitational pull?
Yes.
You know what? I got an answer to that. It's a gravity well generator.
I think it is.
Yes, it's an interdictor.
It's very grave. Very, very grave.
Well,
It's an
anything
executor class interdictor.
anything of a large enough size will eventually spin itself round,
But the thing is, though, is that because his head is so round, like I said, it's a gravity well generator. Nothing can escape his pull.
Oh God,
That's why there's no good ideas ever come out of it.
Yep, exactly.
It's also why he steals everybody else's ideas.
But let's try to let Jeff run through a couple of them, and when he finishes them off, then we comment on them. I want to thank all the super
because that was really far back.
Because
for sure.
I want to appreciate what you do, and we want to make you part of the conversation here.
Oh,
And,
hell yeah.
we're nerds. We get sweaty. We get excited. We get into this conversation.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
we appreciate you in the chat, and we want to let you know that we love open conversations, and we want to hear you.
Yeah, well said.
You're right, Disney.
Somebody sent a $5 one that says message retracted. Well, thank you no matter what you had to say. We appreciate it. Playborn, is it time for an episode 8 reboot? Too soon. Sadly,
No,
we
it's
won't
not.
get any reboots.
Honestly, if I had the choice, if I took over Lucasfilm tomorrow, I would decan it at 7 and 8. It'd be Legends, and I'd start.
Yes.
And Solo.
Yes.
Solo.
I
No,
decanonize everything that's in the current Star Wars thing right now because it's not working.
Seven
Rogue
should have been
One was
Thrawn.
fine. Rogue
Seven
One
should
was
have been
fine.
Thrawn.
Rogue One was boring.
Rogue One doesn't shit on anything particularly though.
Exactly.
But it does feel boring, though. I do have to
But the
admit
good part was
there's
the
some
ending.
stuff that's good, but not everything's good.
It could be
Oh,
recut. Rogue One could be recut and fixed. And honestly, I think we all agree that after Return of the Jedi, it should have been the Empire kind of disappeared into the unknown regions and came back as Thrawn. And Thrawn wants control because he fears maybe the Yuzon Vong, maybe whatever. We don't have to get into that because we have 3 movies to get into Thrawn.
Oh,
And
if
see how
it
that
was
would've
my
been
call,
fine. I would have
the
been
Thrawn
cool with that.
trilogy would have been 7, 8, and 9. We would have
That's what it
probably
should
had to
have been.
recast. We would have to recast Luke, Leia, and Han, and all that because they're too old at this point. I mean, if they'd done it in the 90s, it'd been fine. But we're gonna have to recast them.
You don't have to recast crap. Watch Tron Legacy.
I think
Harrison Ford will never come back.
I think
he never
Why
wants
that's
to
why in
anyway.
7.
And recast them. I'm
Well,
not dogmatic. I'm not. Oh, it has to be Mark Hamill. No, as long as he gets his money, I don't.
I think personally we should
remember
stop.
a while back, the guy that played Winter Soldier, Bucky. A lot of people saying he looks like a younger version
Sebastian
of Luke
Stan.
Skywalker.
Sebastian
Yeah.
Stan. Yeah, he
I'm
really
glad
looks like him.
Just to cast him as a young Luke Skywalker, about 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years after Return of the Jedi, and then there you go. You go from there.
Well, the thing is, the Thrawn
No,
trilogy
you're
happened about
playing
5 years after.
You're playing
Game
into
6.
Disney's trap right now because all they want is for you to be accepting of the recast because they just want to reboot the original.
Oh, I don't care if they recast. I don't care if they physically resurrect Carrie Fisher. They can bring her from the dead. I will not watch anything or pay 1 cent until they apologize for calling me a Nazi. I don't care what they make.
I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
Have you guys seen the numbers for the Solo?
My answer to that super chat is that I think that we should stop rebooting everything. Full stop.
Yes.
I apologize if I got a little emotional there, a little excited.
No, I like it though. The passion, man. The passion is real.
Passion.
Yeah, especially where you're the part of the military that fought against the Nazis, and I have descendants fought against Nazis and all that. Yeah, I was like, don't call me a Nazi. I can't be a Nazi because, one, I have uncles. I have a great uncle that fought against the Nazis, and I'm all for America and against fascism and all that.
Look, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican.
Yeah,
to me, the German Jews and the American whites are the American gringos are whites. They're both whites, and you're gonna tell me that they're greedy and they're privileged. So you're going to take their patriarchal heritage and redistribute it. To me, that's a Nazi thing to say. I remember that the Nazis were the Democratic National Socialists of Germany, and I am against the Democratic National Socialists of Germany and against the Democratic National Socialists of America.
Rob, we're going way into politics.
That's
what
we're back to the super chats.
Let's cut it back.
Hey, let's go back to super chats, man.
I don't like being called a Nazi.
The Readerkiss 2790 says Rogue
Solo
Squadron.
box office numbers.
Let him go through the super chats, please.
Let him do the super chats.
All right, the Readerkiss 2790 says Rogue Squadron had furries. I did not know that.
Yes, they did.
What?
One, Gavin Darklighter's girlfriend was a Bothan before she got shot down.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that, That was
Bombshoe says, damn, you guys are doing the EU episode while I'm working. I'm sorry, Bombshoes, that you missed it tonight. I'm sure there has to be a part 2.
Oh, I hope so. I would love to come back.
I never really did get to talk about a couple of things I wanted to talk about, but that's okay.
There's one thing I want to throw out there. There's two. There's a rumor. I remember a rumor going around that George Lucas didn't like Mara Jade, and that a lot of people are saying at the end of episode 3, Mara Jade should have been there as like a little girl.
No, she's too young. She should be too young. She's about the same age as Luke. She'd be a baby.
It's been since the 90s, so I'm old.
And as far as George Lucas hating Mara Jade, I don't remember that. As I recall, like I said, I saw an interview where he specifically said that he was going to do 7, 8, and 9 tomorrow because he had no idea how to do it. He was going to take the Thrawn trilogy, just make those into 7, 8, and 9.
It would have been totally fine if he did that. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go run through the super chats. Come on, this is about the customers.
All right, Mareth Theoline says favorite Star Wars tabletop: 3 Jedi Academy, 2 original Battlefront. Oh, sorry, not tabletop. Original Star Wars games, top 3 Jedi Academy, original Battlefront, 1 Old Republics.
I can't argue with any of those.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
Jedi Rider.
And if you haven't played Jedi Academy, you got to.
It's the best saber fighting in any Star Wars game ever.
All right, cool.
Jedi Rider says, Jeff, what's your favorite Star Wars book? I have, Han Solo at Star's End? I don't know. That's an old one I have. I have the old shit that I bought as a kid. I don't have any of the more modern EU stuff. So we'll go something old like that. The Young Han Solo trilogy overall, I read that in the 4th grade and I liked it a lot.
That's actually a good trilogy. I wish it had done more of that stuff in the Solo movie.
Ivan Nieves says Ace Combat 6 best soundtrack. Long live Grace C. Maria.
Long live
Ace Combat 6. That was the first game I ever played to utter completion on Xbox 360. Love that game.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you guys. Mareth Theoline says thoughts on the Jedi Apprentice novel series about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon before Episode 1.
That's young adult, and while I do not have any problem with that, and I have read a lot of young adult in my day, I have not read those because they came out when I was no longer really on that radar, I guess.
Never read them either.
I don't know anything about them.
I saw it. Didn't really get into it.
I played the Obi-Wan game back on the original Xbox, which kind of covered that a little bit.
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
Cesaria Japan says slavery in Star Wars. Who handled it better, EU or Disney?
EU.
EU.
The EU, just look at the Nogri. Like they were tricked into thinking that the rebellion was the reason why the planet was destroyed, and so they swore themselves in servitude to the Empire, and then found out
to Vader,
specifically Vader.
To Vader, you're right, and it was all just like a manipulation game to get some free bodyguards.
And the funny part is when they were trying to kill Leia, and then found out Leia was Vader's daughter, and suddenly they swore their allegiance to her.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's just I don't know. I think that that and I mean, they talk about. I mean, you see Anakin's a slave, whatever. There's no need to I guess there's no need to have such on the nose this is a thing. Look at it. It's bad, right?
And the thing is with Canto Bite.
You can just have those feelings when you feel sympathy for someone when you see their situation sucks. You know what I mean?
John.
Look, I didn't like the way they remember that guy with the bald face. I'm wanted on I don't know how many systems. The way they jammed that into Rogue One, jammed that into Rogue One, I would just cut that out. That's it's dumb. It's like we're gonna copy the worst parts of the old ones, so you love the new ones.
Well, the real question is, how did he get off of
he was leaving at that point. He was about to get on a ship and leave, so he got out.
Yeah, to me, the question is, why would you put one of the cringiest makeups? I mean, it might have been good for its time. Why would you put the worst parts of the old stuff in the new stuff so that we hate the old stuff and we love their new royalty?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a special spot for him, but that's because I like Tales from the Mos Eisley's Cantina quite a bit.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, I think we should keep rolling here.
Yep. Let's see. Mega Jetty 1. Star Wars is first and foremost a fantasy over sci-fi. Magic before science.
It's a space opera.
Magic.
It's a space opera.
It's Space Wizards is what the original concept was from George. So.
Yeah, because it was based over on the Flash Gordon series.
Yep.
Mataween says, if I remember correctly, E.T. recognized the Yoda costume the kid was wearing. Was he a Jedi? Hashtag Earth Canon cross-referenced.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that was just a nod to Spielberg because George Lucas and Spielberg are such great friends. So they just threw that in just for they're like best friends. Oh, there's a funny story. When George Lucas was coming up with Star Wars,
Yoda might like candy, dude. You don't know.
No.
But hey, there was those Reese's pieces.
Well, that does raise the question that we've never seen a Yoda species outside of Yoda.
Well, guys.
Well, we saw
there's that weird inverted pink one that's on the Jedi Council.
Yeah, there was Yaddle in the Phantom Menace.
Something else.
Guys, here's a fun fact for you, though. When George Lucas was working on Star Wars, Steven Spielberg was working on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and George Lucas thought his movie was going to bomb, it was going to suck, but Steven Spielberg believed in him and said, you stake me 3% in your movie, I'll stake you 3% in mine. Guess who came out more ahead?
Yeah, I feel like Spielberg.
Hell yeah.
I feel like Spielberg might be George Lucas's personal biggest fan.
He is.
Well, we're most critical of ourselves. I mean, we may have strong feelings on, I believe this. I'm gonna be the first one. I have very strong opinions, and I'm a paranoid person. I'm defensive 25 hours a day, 8 days a week.
Yeah, man.
H.P. Lovecraft once said, the worst critic that any writer or creator or whatever could be is yourself.
Oh certainly. God. It can be crippling.
Yeah.
It can be crippling, man. As someone who's dabbled in other, various creative endeavors, it can be really crippling to doubt yourself,
I don't even make anything on my own channel because I like that form and that structure to have somebody say, hey, calm down. You might be going off the rails here. Because I know I do go off the rails.
I mean, I think that two heads are better than one in every situation.
Of course, it has to come from someone I respect, but I can understand why we can have, if we have a mutual respect and different perspectives, we're gonna get a better view.
Oh, sure.
You can't have too many cooks in the kitchen either.
No, yeah.
No, you have to balance that out, what, the right kind of cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at the yin and the yang. You can balance like that.
All right, guys.
I try.
Let's get back on the super chat.
All right, get back to it.
Mark C. Thoughts on the Dark Empire comic series? Personally, I thought the stories were wonky, but
Yes,
Kennedy's art was gorgeous.
Dark Empire 1 and 2, hands down, some of my most favorite comics ever. I love them.
Super wonky, but I did like them quite a bit.
The artwork
here's
was
the thing.
fantastic in them. I
But
love
Harry,
them to death.
Harry, here's the thing though. It's the only comics that was ever worked into the whole EU series books. The only comics that were really seriously influenced, because like some of the books later after that those comics took place are actually referenced in the books.
I actually know this story because I listened to the audio novelization. It has Billy D. Williams as Lando, so
Yeah,
it's really good.
I was like, man, this dude's Lando impression is great.
But
And
no,
then-
they actually credited him at the end of
yeah,
the
I know.
audiobook.
I know, dude. I had that reveal like 4 weeks ago when I
And
listened.
it was like, holy shit, that was actually Billy D. Williams. That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
laughed my ass off because I was like, this dude's Lando is dope. Like,
and it was actually him. So there you go.
Yeah, that's why.
Fun fact though, the guy that did the voiceover for the Thrawn trilogy is the guy who played Wedge Antilles.
Oh, Dennis
Oh,
Lawson.
that's cool.
wait,
Dennis Lawson
yeah,
did
you
the
mean, like,
voice for
yeah, I was
the,
gonna say Ewan
the Thrawn trilogy.
McGregor's uncle.
No, Oscar Isaac's uncle.
No, it's Ewan McGregor's uncle.
No, Oscar Isaac's his nephew. not
Well,
Ewan.
we have a super chat here from Bombchus, and he's saying, "Glad you guys are having a part 2. I could have been correcting you guys all night. The Chimerica use of liquid crystal space shifters and the third battle of Fondor." Okay, so what I think could happen here, and I'm going to talk to I'm just going to run this by Jeff, is we could take a couple of these super chats that we haven't been able to discuss, and just you guys put them in here, and we could talk a little bit about this. Make sure we have you guys back in the next show and try to address some of this stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, let's see. Cover Viper says, "Are you sure that all the writers have royalties?"
No,
They should.
I'm vague on that, but that is a
I
theory
think most
that I
of them
have.
do.
Like it
Dawn
seems like
does
it
have
seems like
royalties
George
on
Lucas would
Dawn.
lock them into contracts where he's like, that is all my shit. But at the same
Dawn,
time,
when
I feel
I-
like they would have to litigate individually each one of the successful ones.
Zahn does have royalties on Thrawn.
Yes, he does. Yeah, when I talked to him, he did, and he said, but he had zero control over the property once he
No.
released it.
Yeah, but he does have royalties. Like every time they've been used in Rebels, Zahn gets a couple bucks on, a couple of bucks shoved his way.
I'm happy. Look, I'm all for creator getting his dues, and I respect that.
Let's see. The next one comes from Mongo Ventura. Thank you very much. Disney is like a baby at a buffet with the EU. Eats a few items, licks others, and flat out smashes others with greasy hands and slaps into pieces of construction paper, a hot, sticky, greasy mess.
I
can't argue that one.
It's good. It's not a bad analogy. He doesn't make bad points.
Mega Jetty 1 says, given Rey is a bad character, should she be killed off or made into a hut slave who can't escape?
Just kill her.
No, that's too much
Ray
sympathy.
should have been. Ray should have turned to the dark side in the second movie.
If Jack
Honestly,
were
they were
water planets,
setting
he'd
that
walk on
up.
water.
In the second movie, they're actually setting up for Kylo to flip and Rey to flip, and it basically be inverse. But then Ryan Johnson, I think he just chickened out at the last second.
Uh,
Kylo Ren should have been like the actual good guy.
Yeah, they're
Played by someone else.
Look, I like the Force
I thought
Awakens.
I thought Kylo Ren was gonna do Luke's arc from Dark Empire, where he got close to Snoke so that he could
Get rid of
destroy him. Yeah.
I like the Force
the exact
Awakens,
same
but
thing.
after Last Jedi, I just don't like any of it, and I don't think any of these characters should exist anywhere.
Hey, don't hate on Adam Driver. He's a fellow Marine, damn it.
He's
Well, I don't
is
hate
what he
him,
is.
but execution is everything, and if you,
Hey.
if you
I blame
lose the
Adam
battle, I'm
Driver.
not giving you command.
I thought he was hilarious on the SNL. What was it Undercover Bosses or whatever?
Yeah, I saw that.
It was like all the
Pretending not to be
stormtroopers were,
Kylo
sitting,
Ren.
eating
And
or something, and he was like, "I'm not like a Dark Lord or anything. I'm just like a regular worker."
Yeah, I'm a regular guy
Yeah.
like you.
He's like a plumber. He's just doing his job. I blame Ryan. I am a Ticopath, and the Ticopath blames the director, not the actor.
I don't think any of the actors have been used to their full potential. I think both JJ and Ryan Johnson has stifled them.
No, I don't think that I don't. I don't think that any of the actors have been used their full potential. I think a few of them have shown that they're not great, but I think that a few of them, like who
Oscar Isaac,
are, a few of them have just been really underutilized for sure.
Like-
You could make the room with Oscar winners. It's still a bad script. And a
I was
bad
hoping, I was hoping that Oscar Isaac would have been like the new Han Solo of this trilogy.
Yeah, because if you've seen like Ex Machina, he is fantastic.
Yeah, that movie's dope.
He was in another movie. I can't remember the name of right now.
Let's get back to the super chats.
Colton Bob, thank you for your super chat. Best of the EU is TIE Fighter Simulation Series. Few games have been able to nail the theme, the art, the gameplay, and the straight-up immersion of a franchise like TIE Fighter did.
Everything about TIE Fighter was excellent.
Oh, I loved it so much.
Oh, actually,
Yeah.
the protagonist of that.
I'd play a high res.
Hey, the protagonist, Merrick Steele, actually shows up in an EU book. It's when Kessel is trying to rip itself apart. Lando calls for pilots to help him keep it from blowing up. Merrick Steele shows up with a TIE bomber.
Cool.
The missile boat is probably the coolest ship in the entire game, bar none.
Nope, TIE Avenger. That's my baby.
But I also like the TIE Defender. That one's also awesome.
It is, but the Avenger was just the look, the speed, especially when you got the tractor beam. I just turn it off and diverted all the
That was
engines.
YT-1300. It doesn't look like much, but it's got it where it counts.
But the
I like a little bit of the
TIE
Battlefront 2 Starfighter, but I just hate the control system.
Play Star Wars TIE Fighter. You'll enjoy it. I guarantee it.
It's
Yeah, but
probably
I
one of
don't
the
have a
best
computer that'll
games
run that.
ever
I pretty
played.
much got console. I got a PS4. I could buy a computer, but I
you can run TIE Fighter on a calculator right now, I think.
Dude, TIE
Fighter was on DOS, man.
I installed it with discs, dude.
Yeah.
I think you can play it on your tablet.
Play it with DOSBox.
Yeah, I could play it on my tablet.
I bet there's like a classic games like downloadable version of it online.
Yeah, for like GOG or something like that.
Yeah.
We're dropping watchers like flies. We got to get to the subject.
Michael Hunting, 501st storyline from Battlefront 2 was great.
Yeah. Because it went right from the Jedi Temple all the way to Hoth. It was great. I enjoyed that.
That's
I enjoyed
pretty
that
dope.
one.
The Revakiss 2790 has a question. Is it Korriban or Moraban?
Korriban.
Korriban.
Yes.
It's Korriban. It was
Korriban.
they're both the same planet.
If you really want to see an interesting view of Korriban in its heyday, go play Star Wars: The Old Republic and play a Sith Inquisitor or Sith Warrior. You get to see Korriban in all its glory. It was really well done.
Is it
Yeah,
better
it was
than
super
KOTOR
awesome.
2?
Yes, it's a lot more.
Yes.
Hey, you can spell it however you want. Just execute a good story.
KOTOR 2 was not very good.
And it's also the
Yeah,
only
it
place
left
you
you
can
on a
find true-
cliffhanger, and I hated that.
Well, the thing is, it gets wrapped up in Star Wars: The Old Republic because they actually have a Revan expansion, and you actually fight Revan.
Okay, next super chat.
Deshandre Moran, longtime listener. What's your opinion on the mother of Abeloth, pretty much Star Wars interpretation of H.P. Lovecraft?
Abeloth, oh god, that was such a bad arc.
Was that the one where she became like this force monster thing?
Force deity, basically, yeah. It
Yeah.
took like 20 people to kill her.
And with Luke Skywalker, yeah.
Well,
Luke
Abeloth was
then-
like the mother or something, right? They had the
Yeah.
father, the son, and the daughter, but Abeloth was supposed to be the mother.
Well, she was like a normal human like everyone else, and she got attached and for some reason somehow became this creature.
That Callista, that used to be Luke Skywalker's lover before Mara Jade became attached to her. I mean, she just became a Force god. It was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know what?
It was a
I've heard
bad
bad
thing.
things.
It was a Thanos moment.
Yeah, pretty much.
Down there.
Let's see who else we got. Great Leonard says, what is the group's opinion of the Darth Plagueis novel? I listened to the audiobook and liked it a lot.
Hands down, my 100% favorite Star Wars novel by far.
I actually haven't read it. I read the Cliff Notes, and even by the Cliff Notes, I was thoroughly impressed.
I've read it 5 times in the last 3 years.
Jesus.
And the reason why it's so good is because it was supposed to come out in 2008 and they shelved it until 2013. So we just had 5 years to like
Marinate.
rewrite it, like, all the other kind of stuff.
And from what I understand,
It pulls.
Plagueis created Anakin.
Oh,
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I actually could talk about Plagueis all day, but I won't.
All right, moving on.
Bomb Shoes, you already read this one, but I'll read it again, Rod. Glad you're having a part 2. It could have been correcting you guys all night. The Chimera used liquid crystal space shifters in the third battle of Fondor.
I would like to. I would like to invite Bombchus to join the Patreon. You know, if you're really interested in this conversation, you want to get in on this with us, get up in there, get up in that Patreon. You know, let's show us the love, because there's a lot of people that talk. But a lot of the people that talk, we don't know if you're Disney employees. You don't know if you're really, but if you come here with the super chats, you come here with the Patreon, then we know you're all about the channel.
Let's see. Sam Flanagan says, Jeff, where did you dig up these rat bastards?
That's pretty fun.
Sound like a gremlin for a second.
From level 1313 from Corson.
Okay, I will admit I'm not the most knowledgeable on all of you. Like I said, my experience comes mostly from the games. So, like I said, I invite you to get in on that conversation, show up.
Where did I come from? The dark side of the forest.
And then we have JSP, one of the most creative minds in TV history, doubted how much he could contribute to the industry. And that was Rod Serling. Oh, Rod Serling. Love that dude.
Yeah.
A Twilight Zone version of Star Wars.
That's what we're currently living in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the good version. I want the good version.
This is the
not
bad
version.
Twilight Zone.
You mean the Forrest Whitaker Twilight Zone?
Yeah.
Critias has a really funny joke. Well, it's a cringy-ass joke. What do you call a virgin on a waterbed? A cherry float.
Okay, I'll throw a joke down. Why did Anakin cross the road? To get to the dark side. Huh? Why did Vader cross the road? Why did Vader cross the road?
To get back to the light?
To get to the light side. Why did Lando cross the road?
Get to the droid?
No, he saw the curves and fuck it. He never crossed it. He just saw them curves. You and me, this asphalt, we gonna get down tonight.
Oh my god.
Oh god.
He didn't cross it. He fucked it. I'm sorry for my language.
I actually thought of a joke that I said to a person I work with over at my job. I told him, what is the one dietary supplement that Jedi need for weight loss?
What?
Lightsabers. Oh God.
My eyes can't roll back any further.
We're gonna start losing viewers, guys, with these.
Yeah, it's old dad humor, I guess.
All right, let's move
We
along,
gotta save
guys.
that for Channel Dad Brian Lape.
Oh, man, that's bad.
So we're now all caught up on the super chat. So do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we close this thing out?
I actually wanted to chime in a little bit earlier. I was unable to, but Jeff, you had some really great ideas for the Jeff special version of A New Hope. Can we see if we can find a Laserdisc copy of that, and then work with Ivan and make a mostly despecialized, but keep the good parts?
We can. I actually have, thanks to John, he sent me HD rips of the entire despecialized editions, and then I have HD rips of the Blu-ray copies. So we can make that happen soon. I can't obviously distribute it or anything like that, but I can make one and talk about it. You guys can.
Well, Jeff, I would like to see, the initial coming into Mos Eisley was good, but the Jabba the Hutt scene, get rid of.
That's
go back
for sure.
That needed to go.
Go back to the old Han shoots first, not the Han sitting there. You see his head twitch like he's dead and shooting.
Here, let me tell you how. Look,
in an R2 scene where he's clouded by rocks.
That's going to be gone. Trust me. That's one of my most hated Blu-ray changes. But it would start out, we can use the special edition. I don't mind the episode 4 at the crawl. I'm not that much of a purist.
Well, if I'm going to touch on this subject, I would touch on the anti-cheese edition. I am always a proponent for the Jeremy Esquire anti-cheese edition. They were available on YouTube, and I used to just let them play on the YouTube and watch them all over and over, because I think it is the best version of the prequels that exist, they completely changed. Jar Jar is barely in them. He does not speak Rasta. He speaks like an alien language. They give the Gungans a little bit more of a respectable role in all this. They cut all of that cheesy dialogue from the romancing the Padme, and it's just it's just the best version of the prequels you could watch. It makes it so much better. People that hate the prequels or are iffy about them, if they saw that version, I invite you, however you can get them, and if you know how to get stuff, you know how to get stuff. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean, right? You get that anti-cheese.
Is that the version that's like 2.5 hours or so long or something?
It's shorter. It's considerably shorter. It's the 3 movies. It's not one movie. It's the 3 prequels. There's an anti-cheese Phantom Menace. It's way better. There's an anti-cheese
Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones.
They did the whole thing. Yeah.
It's hard to say it. I mean, it's a pretty bad movie.
So go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's an excellent lead into like the thing that I was gonna bring up is that has anyone seen The Blackened Mantle?
No. Is that a fan film?
Yeah, so The Blackened Mantle is a recut of the prequel trilogy, and what they've done is they have used mostly it's all one movie, and they've used mostly footage from Revenge of the Sith that uses clips from Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones almost as like flashbacks for like characters like inner dialogue like in scenes or stuff. So like, before Anakin cuts off Dooku's head, like he thinks of something like, like that kind of thing, throws back to another movie or like whatnot. But the point is that it's all recut, and it's uses the Japanese audio track. So they rewrite the dubs that the English dubs so that the story is a little more cohesive, and also it just kind of gives a little more like brevity to it. Like they develop the relationship between Anakin and Padme, and Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Anakin and Palpatine, and like it feels like you're watching like a Japanese anime version of the prequels, and it's kind of fascinating.
Is it like a film noir sort of thing?
You just have to see it, man. They reclip it starts with the drop-in of Revenge of the Sith where Anakin and Obi-Wan are in the ships.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, like, they change just little key elements, like when Qui-Gon is dying and Obi-Wan's like, "Oh my God, you're dying,"
I want to see if we can check that out, because we've been working on a fan film show. The last one went pretty well. We're trying to get it so we can give it a little bit more of a promotion beforehand. And as soon as we get a date going and Jeff can coordinate a date, we're gonna try to have the people from the Imps, the visual effects supervisor seems to be down for it, and we want to get into these fan films. Want to get into this recuts, and I'm seeing a lot of a lot of discussion in the chat about different cuts and different versions and what people should do. I mean, I didn't like the prequels. The only version that I can watch and accept is the anti-cheese, because like the prequels it's a tough sell. I mean, as a kid I liked it,
the problem with the prequels is that it had a good idea and a good vision. The execution just completely fell apart.
That's why the Plagueis novel is so good. It basically takes like 30 or 40 different like EU like novels, comic books, and video games and the movies, and ties together like all of these things that were either vague or didn't really make any sense in the prequels. It's seriously like it's like a Tolkien-esque effort in the middle of the Star Wars canon.
Nice. Oh, guys, we did have 2 super chats pop up, so I think we might need to get to those right quick.
Let's see. Okay. Dick McJackass, who doesn't like salted butter, says Ula always wondered why her master Jabba constantly abused her, and then it hit her. Sorry, I couldn't get on tonight. I tried to email, but I'm retarded. Whoa. Mega Jetty 1 says, who's played Star Wars Trilogy Arcade? I needed $5 in quarters in order to beat it. I'm undefeated on the trench run. No misses. I
haven't played that.
I used to just watch the kids who could afford it.
I didn't get a chance to get in on that.
It that way.
I played Return of the Jedi. I could never beat Vader because I was just not good enough at that damn control.
I went
Okay,
I went and found one as an adult and like played like for like $10 worth because I was just like I never got to do this, dude.
The last game I got into was like Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. That's the last time I got into the arcades and
That's
stuff.
like 25 years ago almost.
Hey!
There's
hey,
like
we
a
don't
newer
have to get
Star
into
Wars.
the age
There's like a
thing.
newer
Come
Star
on.
Wars trilogy one that I was playing at like I don't know Chuck E. Cheese's or something. That like the seats move around and you like.
I feel ancient.
Oh, is it that one in the pod?
Yeah,
where
in the pod.
It's like that immersive one. Yeah, they have it
I
at Dave
played
and Buster's. That I played that thing a lot. That thing was a great time.
I think it
I
was
haven't
like
played that
using
one.
Sega Dreamcast style like graphics or something, or it used like the Naomi system.
It definitely
or whatever.
seemed like Dreamcast.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
Dreamcast going old school
Before
here.
Dreamcast.
Hey, I had the Atari, so you know.
And Sam
So,
Flanagan
guys-
says, Padme was like a slut to the Force.
Vader
And
would
the
do
Robot
anything
Chicken
for that.
special, she definitely was.
The only thing I
Guys, there
didn't
was a
like
big
about
question.
Padme was like she was what 6-7 years older than Anakin. So it was like, wow,
Yeah,
she's
it felt
really
like-
robbing that cradle.
It felt really strange. It really did.
In
And
the,
then
in,
Anakin
the
came back,
novelization, in the
17
novelization
or
of the
something?
Phantom Menace, 9-year-old Anakin, the first thing that, like, in his first interaction with her, says, "I'm gonna marry you."
Yeah, he did. But the
Weird.
best novelization of the movies was actually Revenge of the Sith because you actually
No, Revenge. That Matthew Stover wrote that. It's great, dude.
like the fight between Dooku, Obi-Wan, and Anakin was so much better in the book.
I'm gonna go
Well-
back to what I said. Watch the anti-cheese, please. You know, I'm not trying to be pushy. I'm begging over here. Please watch the
Same,
anti-cheese.
yeah.
It's a
no,
good
I've,
thing.
I've watched those, dude. They're like, that's actually how I found the Black and Mantle is because I saw an article about the anti-cheese and
Back me up here. Am I right?
you know, they're like basically it just cuts out like a lot of the stuff that is annoying,
Jeez.
and then like they make like a couple like Jar Jar's voice, like he said, is like the Greedo alien language kind of thing, so that like they give him dubs instead.
He talks a little bit. Yeah, it makes it all
And
better.
it's like where Anakin is like saying, "Are you an angel?" They probably cut that out. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it's definitely a more palatable, less cringeworthy version. I honestly, the reason why I said like I even recommend the Black Mantle is because it's almost like another thing by itself. Like it uses all of the elements, but like tells a slightly different story. Like
Hey guys,
I was a big fan of The Professional, so I was kind of into
When-
like her acting and Padme's acting.
When,
before she was even in all this stuff. 'Cause
yeah, I know, The
The
Professional
Professional is
super
an
good.
awesome movie.
The Professional is awesome.
Hey guys,
When-
quick one right
when-
here. I got this great thing in chat, and I think we should do a roundtable where we all talk one at a
Sure.
time. Darth Dougal, the wise ass, said, "You've been given free reign to direct episode 9 and do whatever you want with the current crappy characters. Go, and no retcon. One at a time. Let's answer that one. What would we do?"
Yeah.
What do you mean, no
like
retcon?
That's like
What
an
does that mean?
episode.
Yeah, basically, you're directing 9 from where we are. What would we do?
You can't unwrite TLJ, is what he's saying. Like
I
they
can't.
like,
You have to
like
go
you, can't,
forward
you,
from
can't, you can't have someone wake up and be like, "Oh man, that was terrible blue milk." Like I had a
When
horrible
it's trying to
dream.
set in stone, you got to move forward from that.
I think that green milk was supposed to be blue.
It went bad. It went bad.
Bad, real bad.
All right,
you
so
guys go
let's go
ahead.
down. Let's go down the line then.
Jeff, call it out for us.
All right, first up is crap. The name didn't pop. Adam, you're up first.
How would I do episode 9? Oh God, I don't know. Have it where like Luke, not Luke, Leia, Rey, Finn, and Poe are all desperately trying to rebuild the Resistance, and they have to they have to go into the unknown regions to rebuild because of the First Order has been widespread. And at the same time, Kylo Ren and redheaded guy, I forgot his name. Are running everything and brought in like new characters. I don't care who they are. They're running everything, and everything seems okay on the surface. Like one of those things, like everything's squeaky clean, everything's running, lights, the trains, and all that's running. And then as you peel back the layers, it gets sinister, darker, and a lot more horrific. While at the same time, and then Leia and all them find like ribbons of something from long ago, some kind of lost expedition from the good old days, and some clone troopers that didn't do the whole Order 66, and then from there, just do the whole cavalry thing where it's this big giant space battle and go from there. I mean,
Okay.
I can't really go from there. I mean, I can't really think too much because it's something I don't really care about. It's like, I don't care. Why do I need to waste brain
I
cells?
don't know. The only option I see is Mandalorians. You got to have the rebels unite with the Mandalorians. Once you have the rebels and the Mandalorians, you might get more systems on your side, and then you have a real war. I'm guessing the only option that the First Order would have after such a big loss of resources and whatnot would be to go to the. They would go a little bit back into droid factories, completely new droids. None of this bring back the old stuff and act like it's new, or do like a color change and call it a new vehicle. We'd have to see some new stuff. And that's that.
The HQ-47 droids.
Yeah, meatbags. Call everybody meatbags. And that's the only. I mean, I don't want to see that. But if that's what you got to do, well, that's where I would go for. I would go with Mandalorians. Absolutely, I'd make it a war again, not like this little personal small. We are the world, whatever. This is weird and stupid. I don't like any of it. But if I gotta go off it, I gotta go with Mandalorians. I gotta go with droids. I gotta go with maybe some clones in there. I don't know. But there's no way that either side can raise an army.
No,
and I mean, that's the only way.
It probably leave off like almost like a standoff, like a Cold War type deal, like during the Sith and the Republic War.
Well, yeah, but it would end on that. Yeah, I see what you're.
Ideally, that would like move into the like Yisong Vong threat because they have to unite because of that. But I hope they don't do that. I don't want to see the Vong.
The Vong would be the Vong would be Prometheus and Xenomorph.
Yeah, I just feel like once you see the Vong, like Star Wars loses context. Like, I don't know.
The closest thing I've seen on film to the Vong is Prometheus.
Actually, no. We have the Reamers from Star Trek Nemesis.
I didn't see that, but
yeah, they almost look like, but all the difference is the Reamers have noses and the Lucasfilm don't have actual nose.
Who's next answering that 9?
Jeff.
All right.
Did you go already?
No, I haven't gone yet. My view is, first off, we need a time skip. At least 5 to 7 years.
Absolutely.
Second, Leia dies. Either, her ship is intercepted by the First Order you hear her voice, and then boom, she's dead, and we deal with her off, kind of that way. It's kind of like a flashback. Poe is now the general that everybody, that people wanted him to be, and he's trying to scrape together.
Would you make Finn a Jedi? I think we all wanted Finn to become a Jedi.
No, Finn would actually would basically kind of be Poe's right-hand man as far as ground forces training. Basically, not. I would do the idea of splitting 9 and 9 and 10 and use 9 to kind of not retcon, but fix a lot of the plot holes that 8 left behind. Where they're rebuilding, there will be rebuilding the rebellion. They're reaching out to man. They're trying to get anything and everything to face down the First Order, and it kind of run like a long episode of Rebels where, you have some fleet battles, you have some ground fighting, Poe's trying to show that they can stand up to the First Order and win. And it basically ends with, more people coming to join the fight, and then 10 launches into, the fight to end all fights.
I'd make Finn a Jedi. And Rey I'd kill Rey. I'd make her a Sith, then I'd kill her. I'd make Finn a Jedi. Absolutely make Finn a Jedi. Tico, I gotta keep Tico because I'm a Tico path, and nothing that happened was her fault. It was all Ryan's fault. Same thing for, and Paige Tico. My God, Paige Tico. I wish they would have kept her.
Rose Tico would basically become kind of like, for lack of a better term, the majority of the fleet.
Well,
where she's repurposing stuff. She's scraping the bottom of the barrel to find ships for Poe to put.
No, I'd keep her just because just to get her a paycheck. She went through a lot of shit. It was all Ryan's fault. She's being used as a pawn in a giant game, and I hate that. It's all Ryan's fault. I would burn it all. That would be my reaction.
Jeff
I hate
said
it all. But
I think Jeff said this the other day, but it would be funny if Episode 9 started and Rose Tico had an eye patch and like a mohawk and like.
Well, I mean, I go back to my first statement. First, they apologize. Then they have to say all these garbage tier sites are garbage tier sites. We do not support anything that they reported. We do not support any of their blame games, any of their sensationalization in order for clicks. What they did, it will no longer have anything to do with us.
This from Kathleen Kennedy, who told
the character who played Tico seemed fine. There was nothing that like it was that big of a deal. Like it was just like the script was terrible for everybody. Like I think that like we hyper focus on Rose because no one wants to shit on Mark Hamill because he told us it was gonna be shitty. Like
I went in expecting it to be crap.
Yeah.
You know?
These actors have no powers. The only one that had power was Harrison. That's the only
Who's
one.
next?
Looks like we got Harry next.
Let's see. I remember I mentioned it earlier. I was thinking if Luke, the one that died in episode 8, or supposedly died, we don't know what it is. We don't know if he transferred or what. For all intents and purposes, if they said he's dead, he's dead. So what I'm thinking is that this Luke that died was not the real Luke that we thought it was. The real Luke is elsewhere. So the map that was created in episode 7 was like some kind of like subplot device that was made by the First Order, and it was like somehow put into R2-D2 or BB-8 or whatever, and they were like misled the entire time, and they found the wrong Luke, the clone imposter Luke, and this new Luke, or the original Luke, is elsewhere in the galaxy. So he actually knows what's going on. He kind of is like, I understand things are bad, things are shady. Well, he's going to try to
like he's frozen in carbonite and he never aged. It's just original Luke.
I want to say he's probably still the same age as what he is from episode 7 and 8, but he looks a lot cleaner. He's not like old and raggedy looking or whatever. But what I'm getting at is that he helps amass a group of new forces. So it's like he's trying to get the old rebellion back together. And they got, like, the Nebulon style frigates, calamari cruisers, and that sort of thing. Like, not the exact same ones from these new movies, but like maybe some different variations of them or whatever, or maybe advancements or whatever. Well, they get this new group of forces, and the cast crew like Rey, Ben, Poe, they find this new group, and it's like, oh, well, this is exactly what we needed, because most of our forces are destroyed and dead because they chased us down with that dreadnought or whatever. But this is, of course, like months after episode 8, not seconds or hours. So
next day,
this will be like, they find this new group of forces, and then they feel like they got a chance to take down the First Order. And then the First Order is over on the other side of the galaxy or wherever they are, amassing their forces, and there's going to be like some kind of like all-out brawl or something between both these forces, and whoever is the victor between the two is the one who, says like the forces, with so-and-so or whatever. And being that Luke is the real Luke in this one, then he's like, siphoning power of the Force, and he could be like, I'm, trying to save everything. I want the Jedi to come back. I don't want them dead or whatever, and I will do what it takes. And he's
I can buy it, but I it seems a little convoluted. I would be like, okay, so this is not the Luke and has not been the Luke ever. He's just been kind of an imposter that was supposed to be bad, but he kind of is somewhere in the middle, and he has so much doubt that's why he went after his kind of sort of clone nephew. But well, he's the clone, so it's not really his nephew. So that's the only reason that I could think that. Well, that could. Like he got frozen in carbonite somewhere, and then you just bring back old Luke.
Well, that could actually explain why Maz Kanata got the
lightsaber.
Basically, the Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, because someone cloned the hand from Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly.
And this this Luke Skywalker is that Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
The real Luke Skywalker is like you, but through like one in the sense where he can he found like a lost, like the Mandalorians, like some kind of, I don't know, lost society of them or some shit.
The Kaminoans, you mean, right?
And then, say maybe some of the forces amongst this group that the original Luke that is elsewhere amassed. Some of them could be Mandalorians.
Yeah.
The thing is, I couldn't see Luke living around somewhere and not doing something. I don't see it.
He is doing something. He's amassing these forces without the First Order knowing about it.
Well, he could be. It could be.
Then he could be the one
could
bringing the
doing that.
Mandalorians. Is that what you're saying? That he comes back with the Mandalorians?
this-
That was fake Luke. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, but he could be like building up the forces to take out the First Order at the same time using the spy network to gather information from what's going on that side.
If I got my
Order is
apology,
spent,
if they denounced
apparently
the
everywhere,
garbage
and
tier.
he has to rely on the spy network type thing that the Bothans may have used, or something.
Okay. Look, if they apologize, if they denounce the garbage tier, then I guess we could go there. I like yours. I like yours better than what the problem with this is that there is such a not following what was there from Force Awakens, which wasn't that good to start with, to Last Jedi. There's so many things set up that are not followed through that it makes 9 a cluster.
Yeah, I agree, but that's about the best I could think of to help save it.
Listen, you're better than Ryan Johnson. We all know that.
Movies.
We all know you're better than Ryan Johnson. We all see that clearly.
Anybody else have any inputs? Or we're going to read the next 2 super chats.
Sure. Yeah,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, we haven't heard from you that much. Go ahead.
All right, I was gonna say, basically that could have been the life model decoy of Luke Skywalker, and he was back at the Jedi Academy in a Bacta tank, and he was basically through the Force mind trick controlling his avatar out there, and that's what faded away. And then he could wake up. You could start out with the next one that he's woke up and he's gotten out of the Bacta tank and unfrozen Mara Jade out of the carbonite thing over there, and she's still younger and whatnot, and go pick up Kyle Katarn and go.
I'm pretty
some
much
ass.
with Frederick Grimm on the chat. I'm agreeing with him. I want to burn it all. I mean, I'm really having a hard time answering this question. I want to burn it all. But I see how in this thought experiment you are all obviously better than Ryan Johnson.
John?
Yeah, so basically, like, I would basically make it so, like, Luke was married and had, like, a pregnant wife, and when he had his vision of Kylo, like, murdering people and whatever, it was, like, murdering his wife and his unborn child, killing all of his friends and whatever, and his fear of losing his friends and family is, like, what caused him to try and murder Kylo. It, like, rhymes more with, like, the struggle of Anakin and humanizes Luke without making him, like, irrational in the context of his, like, uncompromising goodness and desire to save his father and all that other shit, you know? And
I see.
And then in that context, like, that could be like what Snoke was doing was, like, deceiving him. Snoke was feeding him that irrational fear, and Kylo was never actually, like, turning until Luke turned on him.
You know, personally, I always thought that after Anakin confessed that he had killed the the Sand People. Yeah, no, the Sand People.
The Tuskens, yeah.
The Tuskens. That I always believed that once he had confessed this to Sidious, Sidious kept feeding that fear of Padme dying, and he kept feeding that fear, and that's what led to Anakin's, his poisoned mind, that this irrational fear of what was going to happen to Padme. It was not a Force vision. It was Sidious feeding that into his brain because he knew that all on his own. He kind of went nuts when his mom died. That's the fear of his girl dying.
Yeah, no, you're totally right, because actually in the books, like, he has this moment where he reveals he's the Sith to Anakin, and Anakin's like, I should fucking kill you. And he's like, I keep your secrets. What's so, you know what I mean? Like, let's not point fingers, Mr. I killed all the women and the children and I hate sand.
Yes.
It's everywhere.
I see an interesting chat in the chat window that's from the DJD show, and he says, rumor new president of Lucasfilm was a man, checking sources to get verification.
Make sure you let me know.
Listen, I don't care if it's a purple polka dotted unicorn. I just want them to care. I want them to care about this. I don't care if it's a woman. I don't care if it's a man. I don't care if it's a transvestite. I do not care. I want them to care about the franchise and not their personal, quest for whatever.
But the fact that it says rumors a new president has been announced, I just think that's interesting in itself.
I think Ethan won that bet. Ethan bet $100.
I think Midnight.
He was right.
Let's see. We got a few more super chats that rolled in. Logan Michael 69. Thank you for the stream, guys. Have a good one. As always, Logan Michael. Have a better one. Mega Jetty 1. In regards to my previous message, Leia and Ula were too good to be Hutt slaves. There's no fixing Rey. Would you rather have a sex slave for life or just blast her in the head?
Shoot her in the head.
Blast her in the head.
She's worthless. Yeah.
I'd make her a Sith, so it should. So there's a good reason to shoot her in the head, and then I shoot her in the head. I don't believe in. I'm very non-aggression principle. I'm very I'm not gonna kill a bad person because they got bad ideas. You go ahead and spout your bad ideas. I don't care. But the second you lift your hand and do something bad, you forfeit your life. It's your actions. I mean, if she does story-wise, I don't like her. I don't want her. Company-wise, I don't want anything from them until they apologize and denounce the garbage tier media. But yeah,
they won't.
Well, then I won't pay.
Kennedy just made damn it! I keep on calling her Leia, but no, Leia's brother, Todd Fisher. Todd Fisher.
Todd Fisher.
Yeah. Basically said Todd Fisher was an idiot for saying his sister was going to show up. Like, come on.
He was he was
confused, is what she said. She was confused.
It's like, come on. It's you really think they're going to make the garbage, denounce the garbage to your mirror when she's saying stupid shit like that? Give me a break. She ain't.
Look, it's very easy.
I'd say that Todd Fisher should just sue her seriously.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, I'm confused.
No, that's not. That. Yeah, but you can't work a lawsuit around that. My thing is this: I believe in money, right? I would say I'm not really a Star Trek guy. I watch a little bit of it, but I would be a bit of a Ferengi, right? If I want to make that money, the second Kathleen is out that door and I'm the new guy, the first thing I do is apologize.
Rules of acquisition, man.
The first thing I do is apologize because how do you make $1 million in a second? You apologize. We accept everyone. We accept everyone. This thing that there's a male problem, that there's a white problem, that there's a black problem, that there's a girl problem, that there's a boy problem. There is no problem. We love all of you.
In the Ferengi consortium rule, I think that's like 100. I think that's like number 5. Be good to customers. The customers almost right.
I'm pretty sure that rule number 1 is make up all the rules when they suit you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is that it's an easy way to make money. Apologize. These people in their garbage tier media, they do not generate income. They did not make money at Solo. All these people, these Twitter people, the Twitter army did not have pockets to go back up everything they said on Twitter. It was probably like 10 guys with a lot of accounts. And they did not have the money, and it was proven. And they tried to play it down because they were in the middle of a merger. And in a merger, you're using money plus you're using stock. And if your stock goes down, you have to put more stock or more money. So you have to defend what's going on at any cost. But the merger is done. And now that the merger is done, you can denounce anything you want, especially if it raises your stock value, because you don't have to keep your stock value image up artificially during the deal. The deal is over. Okay, so the deal is over. Maybe I like the deal. Maybe I don't. But the point is, now you can raise your stock value simply by, going with "We love everybody."
Yeah,
we are sorry if we offended you, and we are. Yeah, go ahead.
They could just let go of Kathleen Kennedy and then tweet, you got to kill the past,
Well, here's the problem, though.
No.
Let the past die.
I want a face, and I want that face to tell me in person. I don't want this. This
Where are they going to come to your door?
No. Well, yeah, I will pull my zipper down and tell them that's how you fucking. I don't want to get into it.
Here's the problem, though. Even if you get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, you have to shit-can the entire story. You have to get rid of the entire Kathleen Kennedy faction. You have to.
So what?
No, but the thing is, it'll never happen.
I would go a scorched earth. I would fire every single one. Assuming
Operation Cinder.
Yeah, fire them all. That fanboy
I would love to have to happen.
Fired. All of them fired.
I would love to do that too, but I don't think it's going to happen. At best, we might get rid of Kathleen, but we still got Carrie Hart in charge of the story group.
No, there is no we.
Well, like Jeff said, episode 9 is is
It's us and them.
the deal. You know, we have to keep this going on until episode 9.
There's no way.
Kind of hits the we have to basically do what we did with Solo.
The best analogy I could think of is if you want to get rid of weeds, you got to get them by the root.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, it's just
And
you have to get rid of all of that.
These people
It's not
don't
just
believe in the
Kathleen Kennedy.
fans. That everyone who tweeted, y'all were tweeting, y'all were on Twitter, you're fired. You're never coming back. You're never gonna get another story. If you got a little bit of royalty, count your lucky stars because you don't know how to treat a customer.
Well, I'll tell you what, though.
You're out.
I'll tell you what, though. I got to give it to the guys who did Guild Wars 2, and that one social justice developer went off on Twitter, and Guild Wars 2 was like, no, you're out. Done. Bye.
You're done. Bye.
It's socialist justice warrior. These aren't social justice. They don't want social. They're socialist justice warrior, and that's why I want them out.
Amen.
They don't believe in profit, and if you don't believe in profit, I don't want you in my company.
Yo, Rob, we got to go to Super Chats. A couple more.
Okay, I'm sorry. Y'all
Let's
go
see.
ahead.
Do the Evolution 78 just sent in $2. Thank you. Loreth Theoline, thoughts on General Grievous in the second best Jedi killer next to Vader and the massive debuff he was given?
In the Clone Wars, in the cartoon version, he was a badass.
Yep, we watched it on the channel the other night.
He was a
carried
beast.
like 4 lightsabers, so he's, I guess, good at what he did.
But the thing is, going back to the novelization of Episode 3, it was Mace even said it to Obi-Wan. You're the only one that can beat him because you are not a Master of Sorcery. You are the Master of Sorcery, and you're the only one who has a shot of taking down Grievous. That was coming from Mace Windu, one of the best duelists in the Jedi Order. That should tell you how much of a badass Grievous was.
Well, Windu kind of depended on the dark side of the wielder, and Grievous is just a machine, right?
No,
he started as an organic being.
Yeah,
he just used cybernetic enhancements to make him more of a better warrior.
But it's not a force wielder.
No, but it's not even that. But like, even Yoda couldn't beat him. Anakin couldn't do it. They basically, it was kind of shown in the movie where Obi-Wan block, and then repost and take off one of his arms. Obi-Wan was the only one who could do it because he had literally mastered sorcery, which is the ultimate defensive form.
That's like a Form 2?
Form 3.
Form 3. That's like a defense?
It's the best defensive form out of all 7 lightsaber combat forms.
Okay. I just thought Windu also had a disadvantage because he's kind of counting on where the dark side is leading the sword to counter it. He's feeling the darkness and how the darkness is kind of, you know, understand what I'm saying?
Vapad. Basically, he channels the dark side and then puts it into his saber work, and he makes it unpredictable. Like, the only time Mace ever actually completed Vapad is when he fought Sidious.
And he failed.
Actually, no. In saber fighting, he did not fail, but Sidious was holding back because he was only fighting.
Yeah, but he's
saber.
supposed to feel the dark side, and he didn't feel it in Anakin.
No, because he was right there by Sidious, and Sidious was the Dark Lord.
Well, no, that was a different ability. You're talking about Shatterpoint. Shatterpoint's another ability Mace had because he could find the point of fracture in a person and then fracture it and win. He thought he had taken down Sidious and found his fracture point. He wasn't even looking at Anakin because he was so.
I'm finding Windu more fascinating than I did before. I kind of like this dude. I was always a fan of the actor.
Oh, but one
ever
thing
since Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, but the thing is, the one thing I do like about the new canon when it comes to lightsaber crystals is you kind of find out why Mace had a purple saber. Is because and this kind of goes to Kylo Ren and kind of makes his saber interesting. To actually make a red crystal, you have to do what's called bleeding. You basically have to channel all your anger, all your rage into a crystal. But Kylo didn't quite do it all the way. He was still conflicted, so that's why his crystal cracked.
It's like a
it's a very
organic mineral. It makes it kind of like an organic mineral that holds energy.
Yeah.
Or
but
actually,
you could also put it like an imprint of force.
But the thing about Mace is because he had parts of the dark side, his crystal partially bled, and that's what made his saber purple because it partially bled. It didn't bleed all the way, and red plus blue is violet.
Yeah. What about white sabers though?
let me get through these because it's getting kind of late. Because I gotta be up for Good Morning Pop Culture in a few hours. So let's see.
I gotta get to work soon. I gotta go clean a bathroom.
Log says, I am broadcasting this out loud at Disneyland.
Rock
For
on.
our listeners that attend Disneyland or Disney World, play World Class Bullshitters videos.
Chat of the night.
That's the highlight of my night.
Party Elm City says the Jedi Knight game trilogy of games would have been an amazing trilogy of movies. When I was bereft, I realized how spot on Anakin's reactions to the Sand People killing his mother and rant was. I've never played those games, so
I would have killed him.
The
I would have
Jedi
killed them all. I
Academy.
would not have a problem with it. I said they're slavers, and slavers do not deserve life. Everyone has the right to, liberty and property and speech. And if you're against that and you use force, then I would kill you. No problem. I'm a soldier. That's kind of my thing. I go all over the world and shoot socialists. That's what I train for.
United States Marine to do the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jeff.
Yo.
Dick McJackass claims that he had a super chat that wasn't read.
I'll go back and look in a sec. You mean the Ula one about trying to email, but he's retarded? I just read that one.
He did.
Yeah, I read the Ula one.
I don't know. He's just saying something on the chat about it. That's all.
But
go ahead.
I read that one though. I'm scrolling up, Dick McJackass.
Someone dropped like a $10 super chat that was
I gotta read them all in order though.
Pretty off color.
I don't know. I don't think so because I'm reading them right now. The next one we got is from the Cobra Viper that says just because the mention of NAP and he gave $2. So thank you, the Cobra Viper. Cesaria Japan says Ryan the Boat Builder voiced by who's ever present. No, Ryan the Boat Builder will be voiced by specific people that I've already reached out to that appear on High Council videos. So guys will be voiced by guys. Women will be voiced by women.
Are you getting into the art? I know you're an artist.
What do you mean getting into the art?
It had a certain style, but I didn't know if it was going to be work or it was going with the same art.
I'm just going to basically take Subversive Jake's work and put audio to it. He's got, like I said, I spoke to him. He's cool with it. I'm not altering the story or anything. We're gonna. Okay. He said if I need anything to email him, the only thing I'm gonna get from him is high quality stuff so we can make an HD video of it. And all the credit goes to him for all the work. We're just making an audio dramatization of a little story.
I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm just super pumped for your Indiegogo.
Thank you. Trust me, I am too. I've been studying comic book stuff the last couple of days. I busted out these brown bags. If you go to a comic book store, you know what I'm talking about. The comic books come in these brown slide-in bags. I busted out a stack of them, and I started going through the most recent books I purchased. I got to catch up on books. I'm far behind. But we have one more super chat from Raymond Reviews. Hey, guys, I love your content, and you guys inspired me to create my own critique of The Last Jedi on my channel. For episode 9, everyone dies, and someone uses the time travel in the Jedi Temple in Lothal to change the timeline. But first off, folks, check out Raymond Reviews' critique of The Last Jedi. You can never have enough people critique The Last Jedi because it's the biggest cinematic dumpster fire of the century.
I gotta give it to Filoni for creating a retcon machine. I gotta give it to him because he kind of knew where this was going.
Hey,
I mean,
as much as I like Filoni, he did one thing that I'll never forgive him for because he actually retconned Attack of the Clones when he made Barriss Offee 14. Because actually, if you watch the movie, she's 19. She's Anakin's age.
Yeah.
Wait. So there's like there's a Temple of Time. Like, is this a Zelda crossover?
No. Look. I don't like it. But after
Hyrule is space.
After seeing what they did, I kind of want to erase it. I mean, I would if there were no Force Awakens and there was no Last Jedi, I would consider it heresy. But I'm like, oh my God, he created a back door. That's right. Someone on the chat just said it.
I mean, the thing is, he wanted to bring back Ahsoka because he pretty much killed her.
Wait. So is he Garen Erso? Like, he's created like the weakness in the whole Disney machine so he can retcon it with the time machine?
The way it works is not exactly time travel like you go physically. It's more like you get stuck in a place where you can force ghost yourself. You understand? You could go back and tell yourself, "Oh, do this, make this decision instead of that one."
Yeah, because he basically did that with Ahsoka, and she ended up living.
That's a crazy retcon.
It's almost like force walking, but a little
Look,
bit
Rebels.
more depth.
Rebels is a tough watch. You know, it has.
I mean, I've
its
watched
good-
like 3 seasons of it.
Okay, so how were you on it until because a lot of the thing that Filoni, I think that the things we didn't like. If you like the Clone Wars, you
The
like
last
Filoni.
thing that I saw was like Darth Maul getting told by Obi-Wan while he's dying in his arms that like he would be avenged by the Skywalker child that is like being raised there.
Oh yeah, he hated the
And
Emperor.
I thought that was like seriously like one of the dopest moments in anything related to the prequel like stuff. Like
That's
I was
going to be one of the highest moments out of the series.
yeah, it was dope.
Yeah.
Has anyone I think someone mentioned this earlier, but has anyone seen that like sped up initial Obi-Wan Kenobi Darth Vader duel? Like someone took like someone computer animated like a way more savage battle between them, and then someone took like the actual movie and clipped it together.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
With,
about.
and it's pretty good. I think who does it? I think maybe
I saw it a few
maybe-
times in my recommendations. Like,
yeah, someone mentioned it on the High Council last night, I think.
Now, before we close out, have you guys ever seen the Star Wars in 1 minute video?
No.
It's the entire
No.
film of Star Wars,
Probably.
but it speeds up every time someone fires a laser
Someone
blast.
fires a laser blast. Yes, dude, it's quite
I
good.
watched that video about 200 times.
Can you just like put that up as the last thing that we watch?
I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Let me go to YouTube. You guys can all find the link yourself, or you can find the link and watch it later because YouTube's kind of getting weird with us. Like no one's getting.
Oh yeah,
our
you don't want to get any
notifications.
content stuff or whatever either.
yeah, you don't want to get flagged.
They're getting
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Let's see, Star Wars sped up. Here we go. This comes from Lord Asumen. And it's only 1 minute and 13 seconds long, and right now it's going into the chat. So, folks, make sure you watch this after we close this out because you guys are going to laugh your asses off.
There's a lot of good stuff out there. I like that recut Vader versus Obi-Wan thing. I think that's the one
Yeah.
they were talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I kind of like that Maul fight at the end of Rebels. I kind of like Rebels. I think everything wrong with Rebels was kind of forced by Disney or the cutesy stuff. And I think the back door to fix it, well, I think it's the only thing you could do. I ain't got nothing against Filoni. I mean, he may have got his character wrong here and there. But, even if you were perfect, you might get crucified.
yeah. I
So
mean,
you-
look at his track record. Like The Last Airbender is incredible. Like hands down. Like it's one of the better like kids cartoons that exists. So
Yeah.
I mean,
The Legend of Korra isn't so good.
Like I said, no one's perfect, but I think he's got a good heart, and I think
Yeah.
he's
dude, like
I'd give him a break.
season 3 to 6 of Clone Wars is pretty good.
Yeah, I'm basing myself on that. I mean, even Clone Wars, which was George and Filoni, had its moments that were kind of weird. It did have its weird moment. It has its but when you're going long format, look, this is the way I see it. Making a good movie is not easy. Making a good movie is a difficult thing to do. There are very few movies that you can say, yeah, that's a good movie. It's not an easy thing to do, and they churn out movies every year by the dozen, they make a lot of movies, and to getting 2 good movies, that's lightning in a bottle. 3 good movies, that's
It's
practically a miracle.
Well, it's like making sequels to movies. It's like the first one's good, the second one, not so good. The third one's like, oh fuck, that sucked.
That's
it's
what
like,
makes Godfather 2 such a one of those gems that you say, well, yeah, that one was wow, almost better than the original.
Well, it's like, it's the point I was going to make is the Terminator movies. Is first one's good, second one's a lot better, and then it ends.
And it goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
And why
technically-
Dynamo says my favorite movie is Freddy Got Fingered, I think that's
He's
Ryan
trolling.
Johnson's favorite movie. And if you look at what he did with the budget,
Or he was like playing on the piano. He's like, "What, Daddy? Would you like some sausage? Daddy, would
All right.
you like
I'm
my
looking
favorite
at DVD.
All right, guys. Well, I don't know about you, but I need to get off here. I got some
Yeah, we got to end this
I
stream.
understand.
I'm going to be up in 6 hours for Good Morning Pop Culture. So,
All right.
folks, you
Can we get
wanted
one more thing?
Yeah, what's up?
Okay. In the Phantom Menace, it didn't want to talk about the politics. They were focusing on the wrong politics. a YouTuber, Lore Runner, pointed out, if you're going to do politics in a science fiction movie, you do it more like Tom Clancy or someone like that, where it's more in depth and action oriented. It's more in your face and like you're not doing this right and all this instead of Section 8, Article 19 bullshit.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Obi-Wan should have been the one going out and Mos Eisley looking for a hyperdrive for that starship instead of Qui-Gon.
And Jar Jar.
All right. Should have left Jar Jar on Naboo.
Yeah.
Close us out.
Yeah, so folks, you guys wanted the expanded universe talk. You got the expanded universe talk. Shit, this was well above my pay grade. I had no idea what the hell half the time they're talking about. I was learning alongside a lot of you. But you know what that means? It means they got to come back and teach us some more down the road. So if you enjoyed this live stream, press F in the chat right now. I got to see a lot of Fs just for the hell of it. But we're going to have them back.
And also,
thanks for having us on, Jeff.
And make sure you check out. Make sure you check out the Mark Thompson versions of the Zahn books on audiobooks. The old Zahn books, not those new ones.
Well, what we're going to do is next time I'll contact you guys off air and we'll talk about a specific book that you've all read or are going to read type of thing. So it'll give you plenty of time. So we can have a smaller but more concentrated discussion. We can see how long we can take these things. So it'd be fun. It'd be like a little Star Wars book club, except it doesn't suck because this isn't school. So, first off, Adam, say goodbye to everyone.
I hope everyone has a nice, long, and happy life. Long days and pleasant nights.
Jeff, say goodnight to everybody.
Thanks for coming out.
Keep looking at Harry. Say goodnight.
Night, everybody. Hope everyone does well, and take care, everybody.
John?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is the EU still exists, still there. So regardless of whether or not Disney is going to acknowledge it in their films, books and comics and video games and everything that, we are all been, clearly passionate about, they're all still there. So, go pick them up, check them out. There's a lot of cool stuff in there.
Obi-Wan?
Lick some Lando Lakes and have some have some Mario Kart with a C and have a good night.
Damn right.
And finally, Army Vet Rod?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for letting me on here with you guys. I want to invite everybody in the chat and all the people at home and all the people that are watching this later to support the Patreon. The $1 a month goes a long way, and $5, that's just 17 cents a day. Keep this conversation going. Remember that the money's in your pocket. That's what they want, and that's what they're not gonna get. The EU is still out there. The fan films are still out there. Watch out for our next fan film movie watch party, and watch out for Imps. We might be able to get one of the visual effects supervisors for that on. And I just want to, wish the best for all of you in the chat that hung with us, all of you that are watching this later, and just all around everybody. I want to bless Uncle Ethan who brought me here. Cecil, wherever you are, Cecil is love. I want to shout out to Geeks and Gamer. I love their stuff. Ivan Ortega, who was with us on our last Film Famcast. Thank you very much. Jeremy, I'm gonna whoop that ass on the Titanfall too, but I love you. And just love you all.
Well, folks, thank you for sticking around with us tonight. It was 3 hours and change of a lot of fun, and I'll be back in 7 hours and change for Good Morning Pop Culture, where
I will be there.
Thank you. I'm going to talk about that stupid Terminator 6 image that I've seen, as well as the first image from Star Wars Episode 9.
Oh yeah, they got Napoleon Dynamite in the center, right?
Photoshop.
It looks like a dumpster fire, but you gotta come back for Good Morning Pop Culture.
I definitely will be there.
I'm so jealous that you'll be at home while you're working, and I'll be at work listening to you.
I'm working while I listen.
Mm-hmm.
So tune in.
Dick McJackass, what super chat? I read your one about the. I read your super chat earlier from you about Ula always wondered about her master. Trying to know what I'm retarded. I read that like 30 minutes ago, man. I read that one.
Yeah, he did. And then
I'll read it one more time, but I read it. It says Ula always wondered why her master Jabba constantly abused her, and then it hit her. Sorry I couldn't get on tonight. I tried to email, but I'm retarded. I read that 3 times now. So thank you, Dick McJackass. I hope you enjoy your butter, and thank you for all the stuff you tag us in on Twitter.
That's that's like getting a coupon for like a super chat.
I know, right? So, folks, thank you for watching, and I'll be back in a few short hours.